Hey, Pastor Slade.
I think they'll have to get the water, shoe and clothes. And then can't get a roadway because hopefully may be able to get some stairs, may not. I don't know how it's going to play out.
That's they got fresh meat over here. That's exactly what that Jared's coming in to get his glasses. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud, was I? Oh, it already has. I'm just stubborn. All right. Ready? Yeah.
Okay, I can see now.
All right.
Glasses.
Okay. Thanks everyone for coming today to our April 15th board meeting. At this time, we're going to call our Craig Slade with our invocation.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for, again, the privilege that you give us to serve this community. I thank you, Lord, for a community that is worthy of service, Lord, that these gentlemen have given of their time, have given of their skills, Lord, so that they might lead out and accomplish much in service to our community. I pray, Father, for our government. I pray that you would help us to make good and wise decisions that are in keeping with your will. I pray for our first responders. Lord, I pray for our police, our fire, our ambulance service, Lord. I pray for their safety. I pray, Father, for all of their needs to be met, and I pray that, Father, you would help them to be brought home safely to their families. Thank you for our military, and I lift them up to you now and ask you to keep them safe and bring them home in Christ's name.
Amen.
First on our agenda, we have under public comment and recognition, Mr. Bob Morrow is going to start us off.
I actually have two things, Mr. Bishop. One, yesterday I had the opportunity to go to the Richland Economic Development Authority lunch where they honored one of our own, Mr. Jared Morrison, with the Spirit of Richland Award, he and his business, and which was well deserved from what I heard. So, congratulations.
Thank you. That was a surprise. Thank you.
Second on the list is we're here today to recognize Coach Bob Brady, who is everyone knows, I'm sure, what a tremendous person he is in the community, as well as the work he's done with the baseball season and all. And I'm going to ask Mr. Slade. He has a resolution to present and get Coach and his crew to come on up.
Absolutely. Coach Brady, if you'll come forward, please. This is a gentleman who needs no introduction. Just a fine baseball coach, but beyond that, a fine man, a great citizen of our community. And we are here today to recognize Coach Brady on the occasion of his induction into the National College Baseball Hall of Fame. It's an incredible honor. There are very few individuals of whom you can say that they have been inducted to any sort of Hall of Fame, but especially the National College Baseball Hall of Fame. And so it is with great pride and satisfaction and claiming you as our own that we commend you today. And I want to read this resolution that's already been signed by the supervisors. So, Coach, be prepared to be thinking about what you want to say. Whereas Rankin County citizen Robert Bob Brady will be inducted into the prestigious National College Baseball Hall of Fame as part of its 2016 induction class. And Coach Brady will be honored on July the 1st, 2016 at the induction ceremony in Lubbock, Texas. Whereas it is with great pride that the citizens of Rankin County recognize and congratulate this great man and great baseball coach for his many accomplishments, which include his standing as the winningest baseball coach in the history of the Southwestern Athletic Conference with 824 wins, 12 Southwestern Athletic Conference titles over 28 years of service to the Jackson State. His coaching career at Jackson State, Coach Brady took his teams to the National College Athletic Association NCAA baseball tournament on 3 occasions, was named National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics and Athletic Conference Coach of the Year 8 times. Whereas Coach Brady has already been inducted into the American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2003, the Jackson State University Sports Hall of Fame in 1985, and the Southwestern Athletic Conference Hall of Fame in 2005. And whereas Coach Brady has sent over 50 players into professional baseball, including Dennis Oil Can Boyd, off the Red Sox, Marvin Freeman, Wes Chamberlain, Earl Sanders, and Dave Clark. That's just the 5 that we selected here. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors for Rankin County, Mississippi does hereby commend and congratulate Coach Robert Bob Brady on the occasion of his induction into the National College Baseball Hall of Fame, and for his tireless dedication to the sport of college baseball and the young men who play it. Coach Brady's stellar reputation on and off the field is a testimony to his exemplary character. On behalf of all citizens of Rankin County, we extend to Coach Brady and his family our heartfelt congratulations on this noteworthy honor. We are indeed very proud to call Coach Brady one of our own. That's resolved today, the 15th of April. Coach, congratulations.
Okay, I'd like for my family to come up and the former players and supporters to come on up and take a picture with me. Well, wow, I was wondering for a minute if it was me he was talking about. Because, you know, some 75 years ago when I was first born, God had, we give credit to God who has predestined this to happen. A country boy that was flying the mule, and some of y'all don't know anything about milking cows and flopping hogs and all that stuff, but I'm a part of that history. So thank you so very much. Yesterday, the legislature, the Capitol gave me a proclamation, and I told them I'm thankful for it. But you know, this is really the big one. As Barney Fife would say, this is really big. That you can be recognized. You can be recognized. The greatest honor that you can get is to be elected by your peers. And I'll be the biggest one of all, because when home recognizes you, hey, you know you really have your hands on something. So I'm really appreciative of Rankin County of giving me this proclamation. And of course, I go back a long way. Your Supervisor Morris here, I taught him in high school. If he acts funny sometimes, okay. You know his teachers, okay. All right, so I have my daughter here, my grandbaby, my brother here, and brother here, and brother McLaurin. He is the son of T.C. McLaurin, who gave me my first job at McLaurin High School. John Mill, former player, and Sarah worked with me with the League Baseball. So I really thank you, and I'm really appreciative. What am I doing now? Since I retired and try to play golf, not good at it, but I do play. But I have a passion to help our young people, and I'm involved with trying to help our young people, inner city youth, to really find themselves, because I really believe there's a correlation between crime and the lack of activities that our young folks are involved in. So, any of you all that want to make a contribution, I'm here. But again, thank you so very much, and thank you all for having me. And
yes, sir.
I look forward to seeing all my homeboys on the sideline. Thank you so very much. Okay.
That's the original proclamation for you. We are so proud to be able to recognize you guys. And thank you all for coming and standing in and recognizing this great man as well with us. Okay. So proud.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Coach.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Next on our agenda, in honor of National Library Week, we would like to recognize Mara Polk and her crew.
National Library Week, and the theme is Libraries Transform. And what I've said this whole week is it is an honor and a pleasure to serve you and our patrons. And when I started this journey as the director, you know, I was scared, and so now here I am. before you, 8 months pregnant, and I'm still married and still have a job. And so I really look forward to working with some new faces on here, and I'm really glad to be working with some familiar faces as well. But let me introduce you to some of the librarians of Rankin County that are here today. We have Ashley Biggs with Flowwood, Ann Marsh, who will be retiring after 30 years of service to our library system, and that's how old our library system is. So Ann Marsh is at Reservoir. We have Tina Mooney at Pelahatchie, Maggie Bootman at Pearl, Nikki Shoemaker at Sandhill, Wayne Helms at Richland, and Linda Wolf at Brandon. The other ones couldn't make it. As y'all know, we have 9 libraries, very, very wonderful 9 libraries in Rankin County, and we work with Simpson, Smith, and Scott counties. And without your support, I don't think these people could do the work that they do for your public. Are we perfect? Of course not. But we didn't bring cake, but we did bring you something else that's really neat. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley, and she's going to talk about what she's giving y'all.
All right.
Who doesn't like getting gifts so early?
Like them anytime.
Oh, well, then you need to stop by the library. We give out things all the time. What people don't realize is that the library has so much more than books. We are not this dusty old archive, although in my branch we have some of those books. Just saying, it's a special collection. But we have materials that are digital and that can really bring joy to your life that for leisure. This MP3 player is filled with 400 songs that we have given away to you for free. We have a database called Freegal. It's legal music that you can download. And, oh, I like that song. You download it and you spent the $1.99 before you knew it. Let us pay that for you. Let us take that burden off of you. We have e-books, e-audiobooks, so many things, homework help tools that you just could not imagine. And this is a symbol of what it is that the libraries are really doing for your communities. We are changing the way your communities operate. We are changing the way education works, and we are changing the way the future of libraries look. So from us to you, a wonderful gift of an MP3 player with free music.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Absolutely.
Do we just get one?
Well, with your library card, you can keep on downloading your things to your personal devices. So anybody in here that is
Thank you.
You are so
that
welcome.
owns property, works, or lives in Rankin, Scott, Simpson, Smith County, you can get on this database. And my dad, who's retired, been retired for a year, he always remembers to download his songs every week because he's like, I get 20 songs a month. And so he got a library card just to do this. And my mom recently retired, and she sees what he does, and so they're not wanting to pay the dollar tunes business. But, I mean, they get all their hits that they love, and so just saying, it's for everyone and every age, and if you're doing projects, I mean, the music just spans tons of genres that are in there, and there's also streaming, but libraries are always doing something different, and we really just appreciate the board and the community for supporting what we do, and to realize that we are human, we make mistakes, but what we essentially do is what we all do. We serve the public, and that's our life's work, and we want to continue doing that the best way we know how, and we thank you for listening to us, and we hope that something that you've heard, you might inspire somebody to go to the library and check it out, and maybe start building your music collection up and saving those dollars there. But thank you so much for your time.
I have a special interest in the librarians because my wife was a librarian in high school, and we have a lot of books.
Hey, and I want to say one thing to Ms. Marsh over there. I know she's been in the system 30 years, but when I started at the Reservoir Fire Department, you know, she was right there having to put up with all those crazy firemen. The library was next to the fire station, so I know we drove her crazy, but she's got incredible patience and a huge passion. Ms. Marsh, I want to thank you for that in case I miss you in the next couple of weeks. So.
And
yeah.
we will be sending you an invitation. Her retirement celebration will be in June. She's going to let me have my baby first. And then we'll celebrate. So we will have an invitation for you for her service at UCMRLS, which is just invaluable. And to deal with some firemen there, too.
There you go.
Never complained about it.
That's right.
So, you know,
I'd like to add one thing, and this is because I've learned something recently. And I don't know whether it's not publicized well enough or what it is, but the sponsorships that for the summer programs and things that the libraries need. I know I was talking in Florence. They've had a lot of the businesses change or something, so they've lost some of the sponsorships. And I think a part of that is because maybe people are unaware of just what all the different programs and multiple programs that they have, you all offer, just like you said. So many people think it's just the books, but you know, it's so much more that you offer. But those summer programs, I'm going to help sponsor that. I was really concerned when they were telling me that how many they had lost for sponsorship. So I'm just saying, as far as overall communities, remember that as far as your libraries, that is where a very worthy place to help sponsor for the young people. So I'm just giving you a toot your horn out here now, because I understand it's important what you do.
Thank you.
Congratulations to both of you too.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda we have Motorola presentation. Morning.
Morning, how are y'all?
Good morning.
Good. So we were asked to put together a proposal for a VHF fire paging system that was discussed a few weeks ago, and we've done what it was and what it wasn't, and what we were presenting. So this is in response again to the existing alpha pagers, right, and a possible replacement for those alpha pagers. The design that we put together is a voice paging system. Okay, so the pager on your hip, instead of getting a text that you read, right, it has the voice comes through, right. If it's on your code, right, for your particular area, the voice comes through. If not, it doesn't. So two components to this: the infrastructure. It would be new repeaters throughout the county, so VHF repeaters to cover the county from the infrastructure side, and then the pagers themselves, which are a Motorola brand Minotaur 6 pager. It's a voice pager that they would wear. It's about that big that you wear. So just I know we don't want to get too down into the weeds, but the design is 5 sites, 5 of your existing sites. We would put new repeaters at those sites that would cover the area. We would hook those into your existing consoles, your existing microwave connectivity system, your existing antenna system. So you're saving quite a bit of money by leveraging what you already have in actually a lot of areas. So that would be the connectivity, and then the pagers, of course, would be activated from your dispatch consoles that you have now. So there's no separate terminals, no separate anything. They're the radio dispatch consoles that you have now would operate this system. The same button that they push today to page out, they would hit that same exact button and it would page these pagers as well. So you're, again, leveraging quite a bit of what you've already invested in to make the system work. That's really it. We were able to, the pricing is based on 2 contracts: the MISWIN contract that you purchased the radio system through, the same contract there for the infrastructure, and then the EPL contract for the voice pagers. So with a combination of those contract discounts, and then also we've included an infrastructure trade-in discount that I think Mr. Wedgeworth talked about, that y'all are aware of, for trading in your old system, the old analog trunking system. We're going to take that from you and give you a trade-in discount of just a little over $40,000 for that. And I have the sheet here if you want to see it. That probably would have made sense to give you that first, but
Yeah,
would y'all like to see these?
Yes, we
Okay.
would.
Sorry about that. That would help.
But you explained it well, though.
Okay, well, I'll try.
Is this going to take the place of the server we've been having trouble with?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No servers will be involved.
All right.
Thank you.
This one.
I think the only thing changed is discount. They increased the discount price on trade-in or whatever.
Yeah.
They raised that number up.
Well, obviously, we're going to bid this out unless it's all on state contract.
Yeah, it should. So for the MISWIN contract, I guess that's y'all. I can speak to that unless you don't want me to.
Okay. All right.
So to my understanding, right, and I believe this is correct, for the MISWIN contract portion, which is the infrastructure, you do not, because it's on the MISWIN contract, and that's the point of the Midland contract, right? It's been pre-negotiated with the state. So you certainly can, but you're not required to bid that out. And the same for the pay, right? You're allowed to, again, the point of the contract is it's been pre-negotiated and you can buy off it. But again, that's your business, not mine, but that's my understanding.
Well, it looks like it went down about $20,000 from our previous.
Discount went up.
Yeah.
Well, I believe the one that was talked about before was 400 pages as a round number, and I think you had requested a more exact number, and that more exact number is reflected here at 350.
Okay. Oh, it's 400 before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Can I ask you one other question, just on something a little bit different than this?
Sure.
The analog system we bought 2 weeks ago, a month ago, what's the status of that for the alphanumeric pagers?
Right.
Is that in? Yeah. Is that in yet? Do we know?
The upgrade.
I
have.
There we go.
Do what?
The server?
Yeah, that'd be a good time to answer that.
The server blocked.
Yeah. Come out behind the pole.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, good morning.
That, the server you're referring to
Yeah.
will be put in next week.
Okay.
Okay, good.
I know y'all had issued a PO to replace,
Yeah.
instead of putting redundant,
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
be in next week.
Yeah,
Okay.
those is some quicker fix than we've had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
So to that point, just to follow up, this would replace all of that, right? That would go away. This is a separate
Right.
system.
What is the time frame from the time we order it to when it would be installed?
Yeah, probably about 90 days. I would say we can get it in pretty quick. This is
Okay.
not as big as some other projects.
We had a map with the last handout, and it
Yeah, coverage maps.
the two different maps.
I've got three, but-
What are the difference on them?
So the difference of the ones you saw, so I'll kind of hold them up here. So here's map number 1, so that
Right.
covers the entire county. That's outdoor coverage.
Okay.
Okay, so that is standing outside, firefighter with a pager on his hip, standing outside. You can see the county's totally covered.
Yeah.
Right, so that's map number 1. That's probably not the one you're worried about. Number 2, we have, this is a map that's in pink, and I'll give you these, but this is what we call a 10 dB map, and that's a measure of building loss. So obviously this system needs to work inside buildings, right? It's very important. So we did a map of a 10 dB building, which is an average building. Okay, so if you're in a, maybe that's a map of where the coverage extends there as well. And then lastly is a 20 dB map. So really heavy buildings, maybe down in the basement of a 5-story building, something like that. What's the coverage there? These are estimates of, well, this is a coverage map of what you can expect coverage in those building loss scenarios.
Where are we currently? Is our capabilities currently where are we at compared to what?
what we have
Yeah,
now.
good question. Where does the coverage comparison?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe the analog paging system is all 5 sites. Is that right, Bill? Okay, so you'll be reusing those same towers and the same antenna systems that you're using now, just different repeaters at the bottom.
Okay.
Is the power similar, Bill? Yeah. So it'll be very similar to that amount of coverage because you're reusing a good bit of that.
So we're not having to add new towers or anything like that. This is
That's
just
correct.
upgrades to the current towers we got now.
That's correct. You're reusing quite a bit, including the towers. Yes, that's right.
One quick question on that pink map. I noticed looks
Yes,
like
sir.
the southeast part of the county or Puckett in that area is kind of
Yes, sir.
left out. Anything to do that wouldn't cost a whole lot of money to bump that?
That's a good question. The only way to increase the coverage in that way because of your licensing, right, is to add another tower. That's the only way to create more coverage in your current scenario. We can't turn up the power anymore. The power stays. You would have
Back Bill or Bob specifically from the Puckett Fire Department, that area down there, as far as communications and ability to communicate?
No, sir. As far as the paging system, the way they're getting it now, there hadn't been an issue. But I will readdress with them and ask them about when we had the alpha numeric pagers, whether it was an issue with them then. And if there is, instead of, I'm not trying to be ugly to Carl, but instead there may be some other alternatives than building another tower that we could, put a repeater or some kind of system on something that's existing now.
Bill wants to make a...
Well, I was just gonna say that we do have another tower down there. You have another tower at the fire station at Cato. So if you did need to extend that coverage for some reason, the only thing would have to take place would be a license modification. You could add an antenna at the Cato site. You wouldn't have to rebuild the site. It's already there.
Yeah, let's look into
Yeah,
that.
that's kind of what you did down in the southwest.
Yes, sir, water tank.
Yeah, that'd be a good
It was
fix
a
for
fill-in
you.
site because of Mountain Creek and Cleary area.
Right,
Down there, we get some load going towards the river,
right,
and that was the reason.
right. Oh, yeah.
But you got a 500-foot side at the,
Find out if we got a problem.
we need to find out if the coverage is there now, coming from the crossroads and the Monterey sites, if it's getting into that area,
Yeah.
Okay.
then that will suffice, and the voice will even carry further
All right.
than the alpha.
That's good.
Good enough. Thank y'all.
Okay?
We have no other public comment or
Hang on
recognition
just a
this
second.
time. Oh,
I got one more thing. I
All
want
right.
to make sure, and Laura and I have talked, we're entering into some contract negotiations with Motorola and with the WCC, and want to make sure that the board is aware that we may at some point need the services for the attorney to join in with us on the discussions. So I just want the board to be aware of that.
what are we negotiating?
This has to do with our contract with the WCC and our agreement with them as far as joining into some of their towers and the use of some of their sites.
Okay.
Sounds like maybe clarifying some
All right.
I think we're getting some resistance.
Okay.
But just letting the board be aware that, you know, we're going into some negotiating with them, and, you know, we could take it to a certain point, but then, you know, at some certain point, I'm sure may need to be a lawyer involved, but that's what we're trying to avoid, but it could come to that.
Oh, Lord. All right. Okay, next on our agenda, we have old business. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Motion by Mr. Morrow.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Ayes have it. Consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Morrow.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Ms. Fortenberry.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
The first item is to request to void those 2013 tax sales and refund the tax purchasers again. I can read those numbers if you want me to, but you have them before you.
I have a motion. Second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Ayes have it.
Authority for myself to attend the Mississippi Assessor Collector Association Annual Convention, July 19th to 22nd in Natchez, and authority to issue check for lodging.
John wants to know if he can go with you.
Sure.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Authority to pay registration fees in the amount of $5.50 each for May Fairley and Sharon Walker to attend the IAAO Class 400 in June in Pearl, and authority to pay reimbursement for mileage.
Motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hey, John.
I got my regular two items, petition to change the assessment on 2015 real property assessments.
Motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Gaines. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
And petition to adjust 2015 homestead exemption supplement roll.
Motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Bridget Herring.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
First item I have this morning is a bid opening for one or more backhoes. I think I got it. Thank you.
Yes.
The first bid we have this morning is from Deep South JCB. Bid price is $92,500. Guaranteed buyback 48 months, $55,500. Make and model of the machine is a JCB 3CX15 Super. bid is JWH Equipment. Bid price $96,995. Guaranteed buyback $65,000. They're bidding a Case 590 SN.
Who was that? Who was the?
JWH.
Okay.
Bid price $106,399.42. Guaranteed buyback $69,750. They're bidding a The final bid is Dribbling Equipment. Bid price $111,102.17. Guaranteed buyback 48 months, $73,000. Make and model of the machine is a 2016 John Deere 410L. Recommend those be taken under advisement.
Do I have a motion to take these under advisement?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Morrow. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
My second item, I'm requesting sole source approval of Apex software for the tax assessor. They own the equipment. We have a contract with them. They'll be converting files that we have to a JPEG.
Motion by Mr. Morrow,
Second.
second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
And the final thing, I'm requesting authority to advertise bids for the unit system for semi-annual asphalt, semi-annual supplies, and one or more steel wheel rollers.
Motion by Mr. Morrow,
Second.
second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. Mr. Parker.
Got a comment back there, Jay.
Sir?
I just asked a question, can you reread that price on this building? I couldn't hear it.
Which one?
Stribling.
Purchase price.
It was $111,102. I think it's 12 cents.
17.
17 cents. I didn't write down the cents.
Don't to buy back?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have three items on the agenda. The first item is our Star Road Bridge replacement. I'm recommending approval of pay request number 8 to Dozer LLC in the amount of $183,283.73 and requesting authority to issue that check.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow.
Second.
Ayes have it.
Thank you. The next item that I have on the agenda, I actually have two plats. I have Greenfield Ridge Part 1H, and I'm recommending approval of the final $26,296. And also in that development, Greenfield Ridge Part 1I, I'm recommending approval of that final plat. We have a letter of credit in the amount of $20,155.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you. Next item I have on the agenda is Scottish Hills Part 3, Phase 2. I'm recommending approval of that final plat, and we have a letter of credit in the amount of $42,483.45.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slade.
Morning, gentlemen. The first item under my section is a public hearing regarding the expansion of the Reservoir Fire Protection District and potential action at expansion. This time we will open the public hearing on the expansion of the Reservoir Fire Protection District, and I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the expansion of the Reservoir Fire Protection District. Anyone to speak in opposition? Anyone? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition to the expansion of the Reservoir Fire Protection District. You have before you a resolution that sets out under state law the requirements in order to expand the district. Those requirements have been met, including the requirement to publish notice first to receive the petition from the requisite number of citizens within the district, the expanded area. We have received that. That has been approved through the circuit clerk to verify the names. That petition has then been made the subject of a public notice for the hearing today. This hearing has now been conducted. We will, unless you have questions concerning the expansion of the district, we will close that public hearing. Okay? So at this time, it would be appropriate now to take action to adopt the resolution approving the expansion.
I'd like to make that motion to adopt it.
Motion by Mr. Cross.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Under my section is a public hearing on the Clifton Rogers Jr. and Clifton Rogers Sr. conditional use permit at 252 Clover Valley Boulevard, District 4, and property on Mount Helm Road and Holly Bush Road. This is a specially set matter. We have with us today representatives from the Department of Environmental Quality. Wanted to make sure and make you aware that their presence was here, since this matter could in fact involve discussions that relate to actions currently being undertaken by DEQ concerning properties owned or controlled by the individuals who have made the application. Mr. Rogers, we will open that public hearing. Mr. Rogers, Clifton Rogers Jr. is seeking a conditional use permit for the 5-Star Lodge, which is an events venue that's operating at 252 Clover Valley Boulevard. The application states that the lodge, the pavilion, and a structure called Cabin A are used for weddings, family reunions, church retreats, and retirement functions. There is another structure called Cabin B, and then there are sheds A and B and a shop building that is used, we're told, for hunting camp zoned RE1 against District 4. At this time, that public hearing is now open. I will ask if Mr. Rogers Jr. or Sr. are present to give any information concerning this, and we'll also hear from anyone that wants to speak in opposition to this request. Mr. Rogers is here. Would you please come forward? Okay. If you have questions of Mr. Rogers concerning his application, now would be the time to address those.
Good morning, how y'all doing?
Morning. Just for clarification, this says that we have 2 other properties too. Are we going to do those after this?
Actually, the hearing concerns all of the properties that are under consideration. Don't forget that you've been advised by your staff that there are other properties where we have conditional uses in place, some of which we have activity that goes beyond the permitted use, well beyond. There's dumping and other matters at this point. Renee can help us sort of walk through what is going on with the other. Is that this request comes when there are still open matters on those parcels as well. It's important to us so that the board understands where we are in the process before it acts on any of these matters property.
Okay.
Would that be including the fact, I believe there were not any permits issued, building permit?
No permits were issued for the structures at Clover Valley Boulevard where the lodge is, and the pavilion and the cabins.
So all this,
or the shop building for that matter.
We're looking at the whole picture there.
What Renee's talking about is
right.
Let me get back here, just excuse me. What Renee's talking about is the piece of property at 252 Clover Valley, and so what you have are a number of structures that are on site that have not received any sort of inspection or permitting. So they weren't the subject of the prior application before they were constructed. So the issue for us now is how do you get this property into compliance and what would be the requirements moving forward. The other properties that we're talking about, the Mount Helm property, and help me Renee,
Holly Bush Road.
The Holly Bush Road properties. And that's another reason why Mr. Clifton Rogers Sr. Was also indicated that his presence would be required. It's because it involves activity on properties that we believe are being conducted by Mr. Rogers here before me, standing beside me here, but on Dad's property. And so we've got multiple issues that need to be addressed.
Well, let's start with with the buildings.
Okay, I explain. Well, on the building, when we first built it, the Hun Lodge,
when I first, that was 5 years ago, we built it for personal use, we went to get a permit, and my mom went down to get it, they said on the hunting camp, you had to have one, so we didn't get now. We went to apply for one, that was about 5 years ago, before we got started. So now we just, I built it, people like to want to use a wedding, so I want to get it rezoned and get the proper permit, so I be doing everything right. So.
You got a whole lot of buildings out there.
Yeah. Well, I built it, I built it, everything.
Well, we're gonna have to go out and do an inspection, make sure all your buildings are up to code, and before we can vote on anything, all the permits have to be paid, you know, and everything will have to be up to code.
Okay.
As far as the building go on getting conditional
Right.
use. But there is
Correct,
the.
Renee? I mean,
Well, I think we have some other things too.
Right, fix that.
Oh.
yeah.
Well, it's your district, so I don't want to jump in.
Man, you're doing good.
But the major issues we have is with all the dumping of the tree limbs,
Right.
whatever comes off of your business.
Well, right, that's what I'm doing, I'm trying to get everything cleared up, proper man zone. I want to bring my own debris in, just recycle it of topsoil, and.
Wait, now, say that again, you're gonna bring your own debris in, but isn't that what you've been bringing in already?
Yeah, my own debris, yeah. But that on my head was on for like my firewood debris, and I came to the board, you know, I wanted to recycle.
He applied for a conditional use.
I can't do it, I'm held up waiting on, to get approval from y'all and environmental to do it.
But the problem we have with you is you've been doing it for years, and that's not good, and we can't allow that.
Right, well, I ain't doing it, I'm taking it to the dump. I'm trying to get everything.
Have you cleaned up all your property?
Yeah.
All of them?
Everything cleaned up. We got down Clover Valley is cleaned up. I'm waiting on approval so I can clean it up on 252 Mount Hill Road.
Approval.
You don't have to get approval to go clean it up.
Yeah, they told me, y'all said I couldn't chip. So I'm waiting on it to say I could chip. I signed an agree order, and they said I can go ahead, I'm gonna clean it up.
I guess what I'm talking about cleaning up and is different than chipping. I'm talking about getting rid of all of it, because it's not supposed to be there.
Right.
Apparently.
I'm gonna get rid of all of it. As soon as they told me I signed an agree order with the environmental, I'm working that out. I'm gonna get everything cleaned up.
You clean it up, though, you're saying you're gonna chip it?
Yeah, chip it.
But I think we don't allow chipping like this.
That right there, he applied for a conditional use on Mount Helm, and the resolution specifically stated there would be no chipping or grinding at the Mount Helm location.
Because whenever you applied for the conditional use, I was on the board then, and it was pretty clear that day that you weren't going to be chipping at that location.
Well, I don't remember that. I told her, I said, in the future, I'm grinding. Because right down the road, Big John got property, they let him chip on it. Why is it, he's, with him walking this, my property, he can grind, I can't grind. That's why I want to, y'all approve for him to grind.
Well,
he grind anywhere from
Rankin
Rankin County, but my 15
is,
acres, tell me why I can't grind.
Oh, one thing is that you're skirting the law currently, you know, so I'm not going to bend over backwards to help somebody that's doing what you're currently doing.
I mean,
when did Big John get his deal to do it?
Probably about a year ago or so, maybe a year ago.
I don't know who Big John is.
I don't either.
I think the issue with the chipping, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the neighbors. That's the reason they did not allow the chipping because of the noise and stuff.
At the time, it was Walter's district, and he was not in favor of getting it done, and because he had had complaints at the time.
The conditional use was granted contingent upon entering and exiting off of Stump Ridge Road, no burning or chipping, and then the firewood to be split and delivered. There could be no customer pickup there. That was what was in the resolution and was approved, and that was approved March of 2011.
Well, I'm exactly like 1 mile in the wood from no home. Big John is probably 100 yards for all the homes. He close to all his property. He is approved. I'm way in the woods, way down the gravel road. It's not going to disturb nobody.
Well, I guess the point is the conditions were set, and she just read them off what was set.
Right. That's why.
I mean that's what we agreed upon. But
that's why I didn't chip nothing.
But you hadn't, right? So now you're moving into a whole nother. You've hauled all this stuff in here, and now you're asking, can you come back and chip it?
Well, when we had the board, I don't remember, because that's why I came and got the order. I don't remember we didn't say nothing about chipping, because when I got to like recycle the firewood,
the limb got to be chipped up. That's part of recycling.
That wasn't what we have.
I know.
I clearly remember, I was here.
When I went down there and got the order, and that was like 3 years ago, and I looked at, they didn't mail me a copy of it when I came and got it, and I read it, so that's why I didn't chip, because I didn't want to break the law.
Right. And I remember, I was on the board also.
Right, so when they said that, that's why I came back to the board, asked for an order to chip, so I won't be doing, do everything the right way.
When did you come back to ask for that?
Hadn't yet. I think he's.
To that now?
Right, about 2 years ago, I gave a check to try to get a hearing, and they couldn't get a hearing. They said had to resolve it with Renee verified it. I brought a check about 2 years ago, had lawyers and everything trying to work it out where I can get it ground up. So I held up and I ain't done nothing. So I'm trying to get everything approved the right way. I've been working, and I've been working with the environmental. So the environmental told me once that we agreed, and I paid the agreed order and paid the fine to work everything out, with them. So they said that I could chip approval of y'all. So chipping is not environmental, it's with the board. If y'all say I can chip, it's just for grind them, just gonna grind up wood limbs like sticking through a chipper.
Yeah, I know.
It's not gonna hurt the environment or nothing like that. It's good for the environment. I'm making topsoil, mulch. I'm recycling the product. My customer don't want me to take to the dump.
What are you gonna do with it when you chip it?
I got a contract with down in Monticello down there at the woodyard. They burn it for fuel. They buy it. I can make topsoil. I can make mulch. I'm recycling it. It's better than the community. Instead of putting it in the ground and causing waste, which is going to harm the environment in the future. A lot of states are doing this. So what I'm doing is good for the county. It's not like I got a toxic waste dump going on.
Well, he's right as far as the chipping, but I'm just going by what we have, we're working on now. I mean, up to y'all and up to the board, I guess.
I would say let's clean up what we got out there, and then let's start and come in fresh. But from what the board had previously approved and decided, and you were clear on, obviously, because you said you hadn't been chipping, is that you would clean this up and take it to a dump or fill site. But to get a good foundation and a clean start, I think we ought to follow the orders we've already got. And then come back in here and address this if you've got an issue that you want to begin once you've finished or completed what they're asking us to do. So it's kind of hard for me to go back on what the board has ruled on and change that. I'd rather work fresh on you coming here fresh.
Sir, what I'm trying to say is I want to grind it up. The brick I want to recycle it and use it in a positive way instead of have to take it to a dump. I got the equipment.
Isn't that landfill on the same road?
Yeah. But why should I have to haul up and pay to dump it when I can recycle it and sell it and create jobs and make and better the county to pay taxes and create jobs, fuel, and that? Why should I have to take it to a dump? It don't make sense for me to haul it straight to a dump.
Well, that's just it. We're not opposed to you doing that. What we're opposed to is you doing it without permission. And you've been storing all this debris on multiple properties. And you don't have authority to do that, right, even if you're intending.
Well, I'm trying to do it.
Well, you're going to have to get it all cleaned up and come back to us with a fresh start, and then we'll consider it.
So, okay, so I can't. First, they told me that they'll let me chip it. They told me I worked with the lawyers. They talked to people. The lawyers. They said, "Look,
who's they?"
I had Marcus working on it first.
Oh, well, take it to him then.
No, I'm talking at first. He had talked to y'all attorney. They said, if you get approval from DEQ and work the deal out with them, we'll let you chip it. So I did that with it. Now, I guess I got it in writing where I think what had him, and he'll verify that they agreed. Said once I get DEQ straightened out, the county will let me chip.
Let me jump in, just add a little bit of clarity, at least I hope, because I've been involved in some of these discussions with Mr. Martin, who Clifton was represented by at one time. I'm not sure that he's still acting or serving as lawyer, but at one time he was. And so the primary negotiations were between Mr. Martin and the Department of Environmental Quality, because DEQ had opened up at least one case, and maybe more, concerning and in the purview and the regulations of DEQ. So put the county to the side for the moment. They were investigating the possibility of an illegal dump site. So Mr. Martin was involved working with DEQ to see how that particular issue could be resolved. An idea that apparently developed, y'all jump up and stop me if I get too far afield here, but apparently an idea that developed was we would prefer that that site no longer be an illegal dump site, and whatever steps can be brought to bear to make it not be an illegal dump site anymore, like stop bringing material in and deal with the material that is there, which could include, by the way, chipping. DEQ then said, you're going to have to work with the county to figure out what is the appropriate way to dispose of the material that you've already placed there. So that was simply a thought process of resolving the DEQ matter, was that it could be chipped and removed from the site that way. But the county has to authorize the chipping, which it has not done. So to Jay's point, chipping was not an option. There is an option, and it's to remove the material from the site without chipping it.
But he could, but if he has got the option, if so be, to chip it.
But you're talking about just the Mount Helm. But we have others on Holly Bush Road and where your lodge is. You know, you have debris at both of those locations.
The lodge is cleaned up. I chipped it up. That was hauled off.
And he's not approved to chip at the lodge. He's not approved for any of those uses at the lodge.
It wasn't a resolution said no chipping at the lodge, only on the Clover Valley.
You never asked to chip at Clover Valley. You never asked to have an events venue, any of those things. None of those businesses did you come to ask permission to have there.
It wasn't, I didn't build an event venue. I built it for personal use, and people started having weddings there. That's why I came to the county. Now I asked to have it.
Yeah, but at personal use, wouldn't it have to have a permit also?
He said that there was no permits, or that we did have a permit for an electrical to a barn, an electrical to a gate, and 2 cabins at deer camp. He did have permits for those things.
Okay.
A permit is required for the deer camp. There's no fee that's paid. The state exempts those buildings, so we cannot inspect deer camps, that kind of thing. But there is a permit. They do apply for a permit. It's just at no charge.
But you can't inspect it?
No, not if it's a true deer camp.
Well, yeah, but now it's being used for public use.
Well, but those permits were done early on. I think my notes show that he got those permits in 2011. Those cabins, those small structures, I wonder if those are not what he got the permits for, not the main big lodge.
Well, the reason I say the question is, if they're used for public use now, they need to be.
Then there's a change of occupancy permit that's required.
Right. Okay, and also for the safety and well-being of.
We'll inspect them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to inspect those. But that's really not. I'm real surprised they don't let us.
Well, if it was used for a regular hunting or a deer camp cabin, you know, those are exempt. But like you said, if it was built for that use originally and he changed the use, a change of occupancy permit's required, so we can make sure that it meets the code requirements. And also zoning is required that he come forward on those issues to see if he could operate businesses at that location.
Right. Sheriff, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just on this whole situation, I have a whole big issue with it. I received this off of social media. First 25 ladies received a free bottle of Ciroc Red Berry or Ciroc Peach. Summer bash, $20 a head to get in. 5-star lodge.
What's the name of that deer camp? That was a friend of mine was having a birthday party. He put that up. Nobody.
Yeah, but to me, that's a club. I'm not going. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
I promise.
It didn't happen.
Well, no, I'm telling you, this kind of stuff is not going to happen.
Well,
but that's advertised out there.
Right. If you got people, I let a friend to a birthday party. People get on social media, they want to look big. They do everything. That never happened.
$20 a head to get in.
I don't let people talk. I didn't let it happen. That never happened. I can promise you that.
I said, I don't know what happened or not, but I know that it was.
I didn't find out too, it later on news reports, God, that what?
We've heard, and I will say that's not the first time we've heard of this, so, I mean.
Right.
Ma'am, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify our order that we have with Mr. Rogers.
Okay, that would help us.
Yeah.
This is Gretchen's,
Betrothal.
Thank you.
Say it again.
Give it a shot.
And I'm an attorney with DEQ, and I just want to clarify the order we do have with Mr. Rogers.
you did, thank you.
He did pay a penalty for the Mount Helm Road site and the Clover Valley site. Our order states he can bring no more rubbish to the sites. We've acknowledged that Mount Clover is clean, or Clover Valley is clean at this point, and for Mount Helm, we gave him two options. One, he could chip and grime with your approval, or two, he had to take it off to a landfill. So he does have both those options in our order, but it's subject to, we did not agree that he could do it without your approval.
You said in your order he could not bring any more in.
Yes.
So if what he wants to do then is not going to be an option.
Well, we do have a provision that if he wants to bring more in and do a chipping, he has to submit a permit application to us, and we have to go through the normal procedures we would for any other operation where we would be permitting a new site. But that's after he takes care of what's already there.
Okay, so after he takes care of that, would you be the group he needs to see first, agency? He gets approval from you and then come to us?
Well, and Ethan, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of our permitting process is he has to show that he has approval from the local entities in the right zoning. Ethan's our solid.
May or may not need a solid waste permit necessarily. He could operate a chipping site and bring in material and chip and grind as long as he's operating a recycling facility. It just depends on what he's doing out there. And what we've said is that he has to submit certain information to us so that we can review it and look at it to determine what he may or may not need. But of course, as Gretchen said, it all depends on what y'all approve. I mean, obviously, it's dependent on what the local government approves.
Well, what we had approved prior to was that he could chop up for firewood, but only trees that he brought in from his business, not outside sources.
Right, I ain't have no outside, so it's my business only I did.
All right.
But I hadn't seen any chopping up firewood. It's like you're just stockpiling.
But they told me after the zone, after they put a hold on it, I just held off that property because, you know, they told me freeze everything. So when they used to me I couldn't take that out there. When I used to go and chop, I just
when did y'all get involved?
We received, from what I remember, we received the first complaint for the Mount Helm site in 2011 and for the Clover Valley site in 2012.
Okay.
And we've received complaints on the, what's the other site?
Holly Bush.
Holly Bush. We've received complaints on that one also, and I apologize. Yeah, for a while.
I think the original complaint on that site was 15 years ago.
Yeah, so we've received complaints on all three sites, but it's been going on for years.
So you've been knowing you're gonna have to clean this up for just a minute, for about 4 years, I'm going on 5 years, but you've not made any attempt to cleaning of it up. You've been waiting for us to let you chip it.
Right, the one on
for 5 years.
Well, I've been trying to get a hearing. Y'all wouldn't give me a hearing.
We won't give you a hearing.
Well, I gave her the check. They come to the board, and they wouldn't give me a... I gave it to Renee. I got the check. Well, I wrote out my checkbook. Back in the day, I come in and try to get a zone, to get approved, to get it chipped.
He did come in and start the application process, and then Mr. The attorney.
Right, I had attorneys and everything, trying to work the things out. 5 years ago.
Martin, yeah, Mr. Martin corresponded with us. We've met with them on several occasions, but with the pending violations from DEQ, we wanted those issues addressed or cleared up before we move forward with any, came to the board for any.
It was important for us to know that the issues that DEQ was already investigating had been concluded before we move forward with the permitting process on our side.
I got you. I want to say I appreciate you two being here. Thank you very much for your clarified a lot of things. Thank you.
I just been waiting on approval. It had been cleaned up 3 to 4 years ago. They told me I could chip and everything.
Well, they told you had 2 options. You just chose to want to go with the second option.
I invested a lot of money in a chipper.
Yeah.
So if I just invest all this and I'm going to recycle it, and the debris there, it wasn't hurting nothing. So
How long it take you to chip it?
If the grind, everything
If
go
you
with,
agree, if we agree, if you
agree,
permitted to do it.
I'll be done, we got agree on it, I'll be done by August. But I'll probably have it chipped up and everything probably in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Our agreed order requires, if he's gonna choose chipping, to be done by July 1st, and if he's taking it off to landfill August 1st. We give him an extra month.
So he's under a deadline no matter what.
Yes.
To clean it up, one way or the other.
What about Holly Bush Road?
What about Holly Bush, ma'am? Same thing?
We have,
I was really talking to him.
Oh.
I don't think y'all have anything.
We
do
have
you?
investigated complaints out there. We have not issued a violation order yet, or notice.
Okay.
Not saying it's off the table, but
Okay.
we've not started that enforcement proceedings yet.
Okay. Thank you.
So why are you putting stuff on Holly Bush?
I'm not, that's my dad. My dad got a tree service. He retired. He bring in his own little brief from his tree service. I go by there and grind it for my dad. Mine has not been going to Holly Bush.
So you'll go.
My daddy got tree service, C&S tree service. He's 70 years old. He's been cutting trees all his life.
So you said you've been going out there and grinding there.
It's no chipping on that because grandfather, he's been doing his whole life.
No, you are grinding there though.
I go out there and grind. My dad brings debris in, I grind for him.
Okay.
And when I get mine opened up, it's okay, but he ain't doing much. He bring his little bit to my place. He retired. He might go do 1, 2 or 3 jobs a month. That's all he did all his life, cut trees. So if y'all tell him he can't do that,
Well, nobody's
that's the choice of
telling
the
him he
board.
can't cut trees. It's just of the putting the debris on your property without having the proper authority to do it.
But environmental, well, they told us we couldn't burn it, so we stopped burning it. You grind. So as long as we wasn't burning it, it's not breaking any law.
Yeah, it is, because you're putting debris on a piece of property that is not zoned for that. And not only that, you're operating illegal business by going and grinding it.
I know that now, so I stopped. I'm going to the dump. I'm trying to get everything approved by the board to do it right. I apologize for the wrongdoing I did.
I think you need, personally, I'm just one vote, but I think you need to clean your places up and come in here with a fresh start.
Okay, I want to get cleaned up, but I'm asking the board, let me chip it up, haul it off. I got a contract. Georgia Pacific used it to burn it, to dry their wood out with. All I'm asking is, why should I have to go pay a dump fee when I got the equipment to clean it up? Y'all want it clean, so I can run it through my chipper, haul it off. I got the equipment, clean it up. Why should I have to haul and pay dump fee to a dump?
That is.
We didn't make you put this stuff there to start with. Now, I mean, you created this problem.
Sir, I understand that. I'm saying, let's get it clean. I can chip it up and clean it up by July the 1st. Fella, another 2 months dragging on. And I just asked the board to consider that and they vote.
All right.
But the power's in y'all hand, and they're not gonna do.
Well, I mean, I can see the chipping, but you just got a web here you've created. This Mr. Gaines' district.
You two guys were on the board whenever the decisions were made. It's made. So you guys, I'm not gonna go walking on you. Y'all.
No, you won't be. I mean, you see hear the whole story. I mean, but I'm just saying, it's clear what the conditions were. It was in writing, very clear.
Right. And just to reiterate, I guess, today he's requesting permission to operate that events venue. He has a conditional use before you today for that application. He still has the tree service business in that shop that he's operating, it appears, at 252 Clover Valley as well. So we want to make sure that y'all, we address all of those things.
Right, that's true. We've gotten off on chipping and we forgot about away from the other, right?
This is just a suggestion for how to sort of wrap this up and get us to a point where we can start moving forward towards a solution. My thought would be to continue this hearing, to give Mr. Rogers and Renee and her folks time to perform the required inspections at the 5-star lodge site and to come up with a listing of each and every activity that's got to be undertaken to get that property into compliance from an inspection and code standpoint, so that then you can make the proper findings and issue conditions for the issuance of the permit on that site. How that relates to the chipping side is that's kind of all wadded up together here. That needs to be ongoing. That activity, however y'all decide to go, that activity needs to be ongoing so that he can meet the imposed deadline with DEQ.
Well, he can be removing this to the landfill today.
That's correct.
I mean, we're not holding that up.
Yes. And so what would, if it's the finding of the board that you would require Mr. Rogers to remove the debris and not chip it, then we need to state that clearly today so that he knows what he needs to do to comply with the DEQ order. And so we would continue the hearing, clear instructions that he needs to get squared up with DEQ and get in compliance with that order, and to remove the debris without chipping so that he can go forward.
Would it be faster to chip it?
You know, I don't know the area, especially with the guy getting the approval last year.
I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, well, honestly, I don't remember it either, so I don't know how close they are to houses and none of that.
John, could y'all share anything about that? Dwayne?
How close to houses?
He's not that close to a house. The Big John's chipping is there on the corner before you get there. That was approved last year, but he's gonna do it, I think he said maybe twice a year, and it's just for his own business. Where Mr. Rogers' place is at, where his dump is at, there are, I'm gonna say a half a mile from there are some mobile homes, and they're the ones that were complaining at the last conditional use for that property, and, you know, I'm sure that you'd hear from them just as soon as the chipper started out there too. You know, I don't know.
Well, I would like to suggest then, let's set a public hearing and for this type use at that facility, give everyone an opportunity to come, and that way we don't approve it or disapprove it without proper input.
So the way we want the minutes to reflect today is that you are considering the matter of the approval of the permitting for the 5-Star Lodge property, 252 Clover Valley, and you are going to continue that hearing until a later date to give Renee, the Office of Community Development, opportunity to evaluate the buildings and code compliance and safety issues and all those regulations that have to be evaluated, and come up with a listing of all the improvements that are going to be necessary before you agree to allow that, to permit that, okay? So that's
Right.
what we would do for that purpose.
Right.
Jay, what I think I hear you saying is that you would like for Renee now to move forward with a public hearing on the issue of his request to chip at the Mount Helm location.
Because this is not going to be a one-time thing. You want to continue to do it, so we need
Well,
to.
here my suggestion might be is that, I mean, Mr. Rogers got that conditional use and was happy with the parameters at that time that he agreed to that conditional use. Therefore, he should follow through. Whether granted he's got the chipping stuff, that's fine, but he should haul it. That's what the conditional use is. Once he gets the site cleaned up, he comes back to us again for another conditional use. We publicize it. We go through RDL. We let them go through DEQ to do that. But he's got to show good faith that he's going to have to do what the original conditional use said. You know, I mean, and do that. I don't see why and I appreciate the fact you've got the equipment, Mr. Rogers, but you agreed to that conditional use back in 2011. You've been in violation for the last 5 years. It's just time for you to pony up, get cleaned up, then come back. If you've got a good start, we can work on maybe letting you chip, you know, assuming the rest of the neighbors don't have a problem.
So the matter of whether or not we are prepared to discuss a permit for chipping going forward at those locations, the first question to be asked of Renee and Wayne and John would be, is the site clean?
Yes.
Okay? So hopefully that's clear in everyone's mind that that's what we want. That's how we want the process to move forward. I think we've left open the issue of the Holly Bush property at this time. Renee, remind me, there's not any authority for chipping at the Holly Bush site.
No.
Right?
That's correct.
Is there any authority of any kind for wood, hauling, debris, recycling? Is there anything like that on Hollywood?
No, it's zone residential, and there's never been any request for anything at that location.
Then my suggestion would be that it's important for Mr. Rogers and for his father, other family members to know that any activity down there related to this business entity is simply not authorized or proper. It's in violation, so it needs to stop.
And has to be cleaned up also.
And going forward, we'll work fairly with you. You just need to get your everything in order. How long? I mean, you can get with our staff in terms of letting them have access out there, so that we can move the process forward.
All right.
We just need a motion to continue the hearing on Clover Valley, and a motion to authorize Renee to move forward with a hearing process on the Mount Helm site for the purpose of evaluating those conditions.
Okay.
All right.
Back up on the Mount Ham motion now?
That's for Renee to set a later hearing.
Okay.
She can put these again together.
Okay.
But we need, I don't know that we've got an official, I guess we are in the hearing, aren't we, on the Mount Helm site? Let's just continue the hearings from today. I forgot we're all wadded up. So we'll continue this hearing today, which will address both the Clover Valley site and the Mount Helm site. We'll continue that until the next available hearing date.
5/2 or 6/2?
Yeah, we probably better go with that May 2. Can we get our
Or May 15th, whatever date that would be.
notices out, so we're good there. May 2?
Yes, May 2.
Why don't we do May 2, and does that give you time to get a good start on cleaning up?
I guess, yeah.
Well, but they need to, get with him and.
Have time to do the inspection.
I'll have to clean up.
They're saying haul that debris. Get started on hauling that debris.
So, how do we need to make the motion?
Chipping it, as long as it's cleaned up. The only problem is it's going to be down the road. You're asking for a permanent chipping site, and that's something we
it's not
can't
as for
get.
permanent, but you got to understand what Mr. Jones back there said. The neighbors complained last time because of chipping, and you crank that baby up. Come May 2nd, all that crew's going to be in here complaining. Why did y'all avoid that conditional use?
He's looking at a way to get it cleaned up the fastest, and I don't know.
Well, you're talking about 1 month difference. My point is, he agreed to that conditional use, to do it that way, and he's going to need to follow through with it. He need to haul it and be done with it. Then he can come back in, ask for additional use again, and if we can do the chipping, then we'll look at it then.
How you feel, Steve?
I just had a call yesterday from another entity very similar to this, doing the exact same thing, and the debris is piling up in a neighborhood, residential area, and I don't know. I mean, I know where he's at is a little more rural, but we start setting these. I mean, if we didn't have the agreement from 5 years ago, and that we hadn't been in such violation over the last 5, I mean, it hadn't been just a violation. The violations have grown over the last 5 years. I would probably feel more like giving some temporary deal of chipping, but this is a commercial business, and our entrepreneur says that these people want their limbs to be chipped. I'm sure that they're paying to have those limbs, trees, whatever, removed, and probably enough to cover the dump fee. I would like to start fresh.
Okay. All right. What I need here.
Yes, sir.
I like to say one word. I'm his father. Because when I lived there, I've been hauling wood all my life, and I won't know the rules. But once I was burned, and the Bible people come out and told me I couldn't burn, so I didn't burn no more. So I went to stop it in my house and get him to come check it up.
Mike.
Yes, sir.
You're going to have to come up to the mic for him to hear you.
Right.
Mr. Closer, one second. You're closer. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I said I don't want him taking some blame that I did. I've been hauling there on my little property ever since he was a little baby, stocking it out there in the house, cutting firewood, and letting the limb rot. At first I was burning. They come out there and told me I couldn't burn. So I quit burning it, not just stop them in the path, let them rot, make tops out there. It improved my cattle paths. You know, I don't want to be taking the blame. And he taking the blame for
Right.
but he got his own business.
Yes, sir.
Right.
That's all I got to say, and I hope y'all work it out with him. He want to do what's right.
Right.
We are.
By the law.
Mr. Rogers, since he was a little boy and you began doing this, the county has grown probably more than 100,000 people. And there's a
Right.
lot more people that live a lot closer to each other, and we have to respect their properties, and we don't want to hurt them by something we're doing. So we have these new zoning things that took place, I think, in 2002, to where we have to live with one another.
Right.
And all we're asking is, we've been out of compliance for
I understand what
a
you're
long
saying.
time. Let's clean it up. You come back. We will do everything we can to work with you if you work with us. But you got to work with us. We'll both work together. And I mean, I'd go to bat for you if we're in compliance and you're working with these people. But you're in here today, and this isn't the representation that I've been, well, this isn't what I've understood that's been happening over the last couple of years. There's been some really big parties out there on this place that you're saying was a deer camp. I've had a lot of people that live on Baker Lane and the Andrew Chapel
Right.
just talked about the traffic in and out and what they see, and then, oh, it's a deer camp. And there's, anyhow, let's work together and make it all right.
You're right.
Okay.
That's what I want to do.
Okay. All right.
Whatever you say.
All right.
I will work with
A
you.
motion.
Let's clean it up. Let's start fresh. And then if you put ask for a permit, we approve it to chip. After we have public comments and things like that, if it all goes through, then we'll be good.
So, what's the motion? I'll second it.
You got anything else, Mr. Rogers?
No, I just, what y'all consider the chip, let me chip it, since I got the money invested. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. I got to pay more money to haul it to a dump. The customer, when I told them your product would be recycled. And I don't think it's not hurting nothing for me to grind it up, and which be cheaper on me, instead of me spend more money, haul it to a dump. And I clean up way quicker and faster, and the product can be reused. And this is the most simple business logic way to do it.
Well, we can't do that without having a public hearing and getting, input from the public. Because whenever we did this originally, we had people come in and complain about not wanting the noise. And that's why you were told you could only split it and use firewood and not store trees there on your property.
Okay, the sign been up for the public hearing for the chipping. The sign been put up at the location for this hearing for chipping. So the public didn't know that.
It didn't say nothing about chipping.
No.
This has to do with 252 Clover Valley. We folded in the issue of the non-compliance on the other parcel, but that was not noticed for those who might have an issue with chipping. No. This has to do with the lodge and the permitting issues around the Five Star Lodge property. Okay, we folded in the chipping, but to suggest this was basically for informational, to get his side of the story and to find out from DEQ, so that before you guys decided anything on Clover Valley, you would have an opportunity to address another pending problem. What we're trying to do now is to continue hearings. That's what the motion would be, to continue these hearings, to give us an opportunity to make sure that members of the public who want to speak to the issue of the Mount Helm property will have an opportunity to be here now. Okay? So that's the motion. Continue both. Allow them to get together, allow Renee to get together with Mr. Rogers. This gives them an opportunity to inspect all of the Five Star Lodge property, and also gives Mr. Rogers an opportunity to make a good, hard start on cleaning up the Mount Helm site, so that when we come back in here on May the 2nd, you guys have got good information in front of you to hopefully address both issues. That's the motion.
If I'm allowed to chip, if we get any complaints, I can stop in the hearing. It never been chipped on the property, so the neighbors had complained. If I chip, we got complaints, we'll know who's gonna complain. If you approve me, then it make more noise to the neighbor, it's gonna be approved. I don't wanna set no neighbors. So that's why I picked the property way back out there. I respect all my neighbors. So I'm thinking if you let me grind, if we get any complaints, I would stop and go haul into the dump. Let it be a test run to the neighbor's property next to me before we come in and approve it. And then I fire up the grinder and I'm approved. Then I ain't got to stop because I'm approved.
You guys approve it over the objections of the neighbors.
Right,
So
so-
no issue, he can grind.
Right.
All the way through whatever the conditions.
Just give me a test run to see if anybody in the neighbor close by going to object. Then we'll know. Then the whole community will be happy. Because once I say okay and set it up and go make a lot of noise,
Did they already complain?
there was no complaint. I never grind on it. So.
No, they never ground.
Conditional use, when he came before y'all the first time, the conditional use on the film, they were here in opposition because they said they knew what was gonna happen, and it did.
Well, they said the complaint was because somebody had a sick mother and they want the trucks driving down the road making a lot of noise.
On Mount Ham?
Yeah.
There's a lot of trucks
Well,
go down the road.
I'm telling you that my lawyer, Mark Barton, he told me the reason they said it wasn't chipping, they didn't want trucks driving down the road making a lot of noise, just driving. That was the complaint. It wasn't no chipping, I'm be honest. I didn't have a chipper then. So if somebody complained, it was a false testimony. That's all I can say.
You should have had him come today too. I think it's, been bounced around. I think it's clear. You're just gonna have to clean it up.
Right, yeah, I'm gonna clean it up.
No, I mean, without any chipping.
I'll haul it, but I'm just saying, if I grind,
think it's
then
clear.
we'll know if the neighbor's gonna complain. They'll come to the meeting and they can voice. I don't wanna open nothing up that's gonna cause a problem in the community.
Well, you already have. You got a lot of stuff dumped and debris, or we wouldn't be here talking about this
Right,
now.
okay. But I had the site set up to bring in tree debris, and I was gonna ask the trees, like what can make firewood, I was gonna grind it up and make mulch.
You never said anything about that. I was here, and you can keep saying that and saying that.
Okay.
You never said anything about it.
I said to the board, I just mentioned to when I talked to the DEQ guy, told me in the future that I might grind. So if it wasn't meant to grinding, why was no chipping put into the order?
I call chipping and grinding about the same thing.
Well, if chipping was put in order, that means that it had been added.
It's clear. She got it black and white,
Right.
exactly the way it was.
Okay.
Very clear.
Okay,
So I think we need
gotta move
we can
on.
move
now.
on. We can
Okay.
move on. It's clear. We've given, not willing to let you chip.
Right.
So chipping's out.
Okay.
Grinding's out.
All right.
Hauling off's in.
Okay.
How do we need to word the motion just to continue the public hearing until May 2nd for both the Mount Helm and Clover Valley property?
And I think it needs to be clear, Jay, on the record, that Ms. Rogers understands that the community development staff and anyone that they believe is necessary to help them evaluate the Clover Valley site must be allowed to go onto the site and inspect any of the structures that are there so that they can determine any code violations, any improvement safety issues that need to be addressed before May 2nd. All right, so that needs to be on the record, that they're going to be allowed to do that.
Well, I'm sure he wants us there because he wants to
Right,
operate.
he has no
so,
problem about it.
yeah.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
So can I have a motion to that effect?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Gaines.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Where are we now?
We got to set some public hearings. We got 3 that we need to set for
Thank you, Mr.
the
President.
28th.
Set them for April 28, 9 a.m., 325 Cedar Hill Drive, Robert Howell nuisance, Heather Sistrunk nuisance, 262 East Mountain Creek Road, and then a public hearing for April 28, 9 a.m. for Virginia Garner nuisance property, 134 Gialetti Drive.
Okay.
Got a motion by Mr. Morrow.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Next item under my section, item F, is to approve and adopt the 2012 International Building Codes as related to construction and maintenance of buildings and the 2011 National Electric Code.
Make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Cross, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion?
What does that detail? I mean, how's that going to affect anything? Is that going to be a surprise to anybody?
They're supposed to be notifying.
We're
It's a
going
lot
to
differences.
hand out a list to the builders as they come in and let them know the changes, what we'll be looking at differently.
Okay.
You know, some of the other jurisdictions in the county have already gone to the 12, so.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to get these phone calls
Even
when
a
this
more
happens.
up to date of 15 or 14 that we're not going to yet, isn't that right?
That's correct, it's the 2015
Yeah,
code.
this
Okay.
is,
The training that was being offered right now is all on the 12, and that's what we've been attending.
Okay.
And we,
All right, I just wanted to be prepared for
Any other discussion?
when you do it. Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Next item G, is a adoption of a resolution realigning the precinct boundaries for the Northeast Brandon Precinct and the Pelahatchie Precinct, and authority to publish the resolution, authority for the circuit clerk to notify affected voters if the resolution is adopted. That resolution is attached to your packet. Basically, this is a very small, minor change to the precinct boundaries to allow individuals who live on the extreme south end of Andrew Chapel Road, which would be just north of Highway 80, to be able to vote at the Northeast Brandon Precinct. Right now, they are required to go to the Pelahatchie Precinct because of the way that the precinct boundary was originally drawn. It follows a section line. It's one of those common occurrences that we run into. This will square up the precinct boundary lines, following, again, continuing to follow section lines, so it's clear demarcation, but it will allow about somewhere on the order of 50 to 70 registered voters to be able to vote at a precinct that's a polling place that's more convenient to their residents.
Okay.
motion.
Motion approved by
Second.
Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Morrison. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
We'll publish that, and we'll make sure that Ms. Becky's aware so she can make her notifications.
All right.
Next item under my section, gentlemen, is the discussion of the ambulance services contract. Just a quick summation on that. The board had entertained the possibility of working and entering into negotiations with a private ambulance service provider. Those negotiations have been ongoing now for quite some time, and we've gotten to a place where well, it started this way. The ambulance service provider gave us a contract to work from. That contract was reviewed by the board, by council, by representatives of the fire chiefs in the county. Requested changes were put together among all of those constituencies. Those changes were then presented back to the provider to see what sort of agreement we could get on the contract language. There's been a good bit of back and forth about the language. I think we're at a point now where we probably just need to hear from the ambulance service provider to find out exactly where they stand. The last interactions that we have had have been looking at the agreement and the changes that were requested on our side, and sort of waiting for a response to come, any sort of written agreement to review. And so I want them to be able to give their opinion on our request for changes.
Well, they have to just walk in.
Okay. All right.
Y'all got some good timing.
Well, we've been outside listening. It was just it was so full that we didn't want to crowd you up, and so we waited till everybody cleared out. We appreciate the time. Last time I was here a week or so ago, we had a contract that we presented to Craig and pushed that forward. We had some revisions that came back to us from the fire-based services, the EMS coordinator, the EOC, and yourself. With those changes, we can do those changes. We can put those changes into the contract, but for us to feel comfortable to move forward, we would need a subsidy of about $300,000 to be able to do that. With the changes that your board and the fire departments and the EOC and the EMS coordinator brought back to us. The original contract that we've been working for is in its 5th revision right now. We feel that because we have been providing service in Brandon and Pearl, the county itself adding ambulances out into the county to substation our ambulances compared to a posting move of your current provider, we feel that we can meet response times, but we don't have good data. We can't obtain that data from the EMS coordinator, the current provider. There's no good data on transports that we know that we can anticipate having to build up our response times, our deployment, and anticipate reimbursement for our ambulance transports to be able to come to a fair contract that we can provide to the citizens of Rankin County. So with that in mind, we actually have the only option is to marry our contract with your revisions and have a subsidy that we could ensure that we could upstaff when we needed to, ensure that we can have paramedics in place to subsidize our operation here to provide you the best ambulance service possible. So I entertain any questions.
Thank you.
What part of the revision that we gave you made you need to go to a $300,000 subsidy?
Actually, that's the bottom number. Actually, we've actually been debating just the last hour on exactly what our pro forma looks like. The ability to mandate a number of ambulances, the ability to mandate that we upstaff and redundant ambulances to maintain response times. And if we do not maintain those response times, the county can fine us. All those things put into a no-cost contract, no one's going to be able to provide that service for you. The option is to go out to RFP. I understand that y'all entertained offers from AMR prior to even contacting us, and that was, they've had contracts and discussions of giving 2 or 3 ambulances to the county at $1 to $1.5 million in subsidy. We've looked at that information, going out and determining what we would have to do to offset our costs to be able to have the number of ambulances that would be mandated by the contract.
I guess what he's asking you, though, was it everything that we added that triggered this, or was it some particular little part of it? Because we didn't add just a whole lot.
Well, the language that was added is the mandating us that we cannot have any BLS trucks, 7 or more, 7.5 ambulances. There's no data to support anything, and we've been asking for 6 months. So we have about 6 different areas that we've looked at data from the current provider, from the EOC, from what we feel like we've been able to obtain from our operations in Brandon and Pearl. There's no good data to say this is how many transports, not responses, but transports are in the county. To be able to provide the education requirements, the reporting requirements, to have everything approved through your EMS coordinator, to be proactive and reactive with that, we would have to upstaff our office staff to do that. And number 2, we'd have to have the availability to put multiple ambulances up. So the contract says, your revision says that we mandated and expected to have 7, and a daylight truck, which is 7.5. But we must upstaff and have redundancy systems to provide that response time, and then you've put a 250 per occurrence if we violated the response time requirements. Well, we may have there's only a certain amount of calls that are going to happen in the next calendar year. But if we have to put up 9 and 10 ambulances to do that, it's a supply and demand issue. We're not going to be able to afford to do it. And then we're caught in the crossfire of being able to provide service and make it affordable. The current provider is able to provide you ambulance services and respond from central Mississippi into your county to do that. There is an expense of staffing and putting these ambulances out in the county to reduce the response time. And we understand that that's what we're chasing, is a reduced response time. We know time does save lives. And to upstaff those ambulances, we know we can put 7 ambulances in the county, and we can operate the first 7 911 calls and be able to meet our response times. But if we have to upstaff that to meet the current revisions, it's going to cost money. We need this private-public partnership to offset that.
So if I understand correctly, the latest revision that we sent, y'all are good with everything to do that, but it's going to cost $300,000 to sign that contract?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the main part being the $250 fine for missing the runtime.
And the continued stipulation that we maintain 7 trucks and a daylight truck Monday through Friday and upstaff those trucks to meet those response times. So we're caught between, if we're going to have to put up an ambulance throughout the year. So that ambulance cost we anticipate could be offset by a subsidy of $300,000.
I guess I'm missing, because you gave us the number of 7. We didn't come up with it, so why is now that going to be an issue?
1/2 more.
But didn't we have one thing in there about the EMSOF money funding? That was a change in there as well.
It was.
The funding of that. Wasn't that in the revision, Chris? So there was an altering of the EMSOF money, I think maybe for future money, not pre-existing equipment, stuff of that nature. Wasn't that in there?
Well, we put
the
in there
revision we
that
put in there?
what we currently have is ours, but anything forward would be yours.
Which was a change in what they originally asked for.
What were you,
In which
what
way?
were you wanting?
Y'all
Yeah,
want what we
they're-
already have? You wanna come in and us forfeit what we already have?
That's what they had written in the original contract.
Well, under the MSOF or EMSOF funds, those funds were put into your county to promote emergency medical services. So that has not solved your ambulance problem. We would like to be able to have the equipment that you've access to the equipment that's not being used by a fire department or the EOC or the EMS coordinator to be able to enhance your ambulance problem, your solution, and solve your problem. Because there's been funding and trauma grant funding and EMSOF funds that have been put to the county allocated for the ambulance service and the providing of EMS. We would like to have access to those because if you have a cardiac monitor, a $30,000 cardiac monitor, that's going to offset capital expense to us to put on the brand new ambulances that I have in my Pearl parking lot right now that I could put into the county. So those funds and the equipment that you buy with those funds are allocated to this county. We would love to be able to use some of those resources that are not utilized now.
Do we have a lot of that out there, Brian, that's not being utilized?
No, sir, every piece of equipment that we bought is being used by a fire department.
And that's what we took out of the thing, Steve, was we took it out.
I know.
Saying that the stuff that we have stays.
I know.
You know.
I think we addressed the issue of access, and Keith, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think he's clarifying that they would like to have access. So what we did was just tweak the language around this paragraph on MSOF that says that they will be provided access to any existing equipment that's been purchased, acquired with MSOF, but it would be with the permission of the department that has possession of it. And so basically it's a requiring a cooperative spirit among our emergency services guys and our fire guys concerning the use of the equipment. Now, on a going forward basis, they would clearly be entitled, under the contract, they'd be entitled to the funding and the equipment acquired therewith. It would be the county's asset, but it would be clear that Pafford would be the entitled party to possess it.
The beneficiary.
Until their contract is finished.
Yes, sir.
Does the number 7.5 ambulances, I mean, if these guys are making their call times and efficient, does the number of 7.5 really mean that much to us?
You know, I don't know how many ambulances it's going to take to meet our needs.
I know,
you know,
and I don't think they do either.
Well, that's the problem. No one knows.
Keith, Craig, don't we have in the provision, we have a 4-year contract, right? That's what we're proposing?
Yes, sir. With this understanding, Bob, that there is language that allows each party to come back to the table at the initial anniversary date to review the language of the contract. That was the proposal that's on the table.
And I'm not speaking for Steve, because Steve can well speak for himself. I mean, the southeast and the northeast part of the county is our biggest concern because of the rural nature of those things. Right now, we're able to get some feedback off of AMR in the southeast part of the county through Simpson County. That's going to probably die and go away. Hopeful that maybe the Madison County my opinion, wishful thinking. I think y'all going to stay really busy in Madison County. They're not going to see a bus come to the northeast part of the county. But I'm willing to give it a shot to see, at least for a year, to see where we are, so y'all can have the data to do what you need to do. I'm not crazy about paying the $300,000, but hey, I mean,
I'd rather get. We've had some other interest in the last
you'll
week.
never get anybody under $1 million in this county if you don't have the city of Browning and the city of Pearl to go with you. Am I right, Brian?
Answer that, Brian.
I apologize, I was answering the text message. What was that?
We're not going to have, it's going to be at least over $1 million to get another provider in here if they don't have the city of Brandon and the city of Pearl on the same contract.
Well, of course, it would be a lot better if we were to have Brandon and Pearl in it, but my understanding with their contracts, they're gonna keep it the way it is. It'd be tough, because you've got the center part of the county that's out. You know, it'd be another provider if we did RFP it to somebody else.
Have you had any other interest that might want to talk to us?
Nobody's contacted me. However, I would like to make note that I don't know if anybody has actually talked with AMR since a year ago when they gave those numbers out. They may be willing to give us a better
What about ISP?
answer. They have not contacted me. Metro,
We've not,
any of those.
we've
have
not sent out anything asking either, have we?
We haven't. Since we haven't RFP'd it.
The only one I spoke to AMR, on the AMR side of it, and it was putting 3 ambulances in the part of the county. It doesn't include Brandon and Pearl, and that was in the 1.5 million to run that, 1.2, 1.5 million for 3 ambulances, not including the city of Brandon and Pearl.
Well, I
But
think
that's
if
AMR.
we're going
They've changed
to
their mind on
now,
that.
Keith,
Yeah.
is there not any, is 300, is that it? We're gonna have a 300,000 subsidy? Is there, what changes could we make to our contract that would do away with the 300,000?
Well, I sent the 5th revision of the Rankin contract, and it got sent back to me. So there, obviously, my contract of a no-cost contract is not something that was entertained or was liked by anyone, because I keep getting revisions, and it's hard to play the middleman between trying to take absolutely a blind response number and plug in a solution from our side of being able to provide the ambulance service, because we are in the ambulance business, and you have an ambulance problem, and I'm trying to solve that the best way that I can. So we have come to the realization that there's obviously things in the contract that when you sent back to me, that I can do all of those. I just cannot do them at no cost and take all the risk and take penalties and be able to spend all of our time trying to justify, well, instead of providing the service. So to offset that, $300,000 is our bottom number. That is the entry level number that we can do it at. I would love to be able to see $600,000 and make everyone happy, but I'm trying to play conservative on our end also. We were prepared to, well, I can start an ambulance service May 10th for you. I've got the ambulance, the staff, and the stations to do that. The ambulances here in Rankin County today, they're brand new trucks ready to go. I just can't sign the contract after the revision to make everyone happy without being able to have some type of partnership and buy-in from the county.
Keith, let me ask you one thing. After 1 year, we come back and look at it again, and the 300,000 wasn't needed. The call volume works out right. We're still in terms to be able to negotiate that back down to next year. We don't pay the 300,000. Is that?
Yeah, you
That-
pay,
that
you
point.
get it down.
I've never seen a
What world
contract go
that's
the
coming
wrong
from.
way.
And if I don't ask for a subsidy today,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get in a year either.
Really?
The
If
same
I
way
tell
that
you
you're
that I'm
not,
gonna-
the same way that we're going to be able to not, there's we want to reevaluate this in a year, and we want to come with audited all-call data for you. We want to be able to say, this is all-call audited data of all calls, all BLS calls, all ALS calls, transports, and here's what we're doing in the county, including all of your cities and all of your unincorporated areas of the county. Here's our response times, here's where we're good, and here's where we're bad, here's how we can solve it, and if it costs anything, this is what it cost. The number is about 13,500. That's what we have to have transport-wise to be able to provide what we feel the number of ambulances to meet the response times in the cities and in the county. So after a year, if we come back and it's 10,000 calls or 12,000 calls, we've miscalculated a lot.
Which is where I think the number is. I think that's where it's at. I think it's between 10, maybe 11,000. Because if you look at last year, just 2015, outside of Brandon and Pearl, we transported, what, 6,100? 6,000?
Well, I was
How
gonna
are you getting that and he can't get it?
I was going to speak to the numbers on that. I requested the numbers. I provided my fire department numbers, which that number is skewed because sometimes with the volunteers, they may have a medical call that they don't go on. That number gets tracked, does not get tracked. Also, I called Stadium S. I got the numbers from them. I don't know how to get any closer numbers than what Stadium S is actually.
What did they show you? What did they show you on transports last year?
It was I emailed it to you, but I think it was right around between 6,000 and 7,000 according to Stadium S. Now that may be with Brandon and Pearl taking out of the loop.
Yeah.
It should be without
So
Brandon
we
and Pearl
just,
taking out of the loop.
we've got about 6 different sets
That's what I'm
of
saying.
numbers and
Ballpark
theories.
6,000 number.
Your current provider They don't have to report response times. They don't have to report, they can do the percentage of response times, but they don't have to give you call for call data. They don't have to give you response times numbers. They've actually got some penalties for response times, but it's never been enforced by any board in Rankin County in 20 years. This is something that we're stepping into new ground here, and for us to walk into this without a public-private partnership and a buy-in, I think we're walking in uncharted waters. I think that we won't. There's no possible way that I would stand up here and try to give you a bad product, but I'm not going to overpromise you and give and not be able to provide that for you.
Well, if we were to relax the number of 7.5, and then, and I don't have a problem with BLS trucks. I had a really favorable situation where one came out and it was great, but as long as our ambulance is coming. If we were to be okay with the BLS and relax the 7.5 and adjust something in a year, if y'all, and those are the two biggies, are we still stuck on 300,000?
Here's something I want you to keep in mind. When we say 7.5, what they're talking about is there are 5 ambulances between Brandon and Pearl right now. We're including that in the 7.5. So you're only getting roughly 2.5 ambulances out in the county.
Actually, you'll get 3.
Well,
three complete 24-hour
So
ambulances.
you're saying AMR.
At one
And you're
point,
saying 4 with somebody else.
at 1.2 million. Yep.
They've changed that.
Bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, since we now
If we're gonna have to pay that kind of money,
subsidy,
we would have to go for an RFP. I just couldn't.
If nothing else, we need to see something else is out there. We need to do our
Before
due
we can
diligence.
pay that.
Because, yeah, that's
I mean, I
no
would be
small
willing
amount of
to
money.
adjust, I mean, what I was saying, if it was some small stuff, relax. I'm not gonna throw a fit. If we found out there was only 6 ambulances in the county because y'all had to run to Canton because they were tied up, and y'all were still making your times in service and us well,
Sure.
I wouldn't, I mean, that doesn't bother me.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with BLS trucks. Like I
Well,
said.
I think they have to do ALS trucks. If they're gonna transport, I think it's gotta be,
Yeah, it's a state
It's
law.
state law,
that an
right?
ALS truck-
Yeah.
Well,
So-
on an
ALS,
emergency
B,
call.
whatever. Well, I mean, whatever, A, B, C. But I don't know, what was the issue with saying no ALS trucks? Why was where'd that come from?
We didn't
Originally, what
want
was
the,
stated was the BLS truck cannot respond to a 911 call, pick up a patient, and leave, because a lot of your fire departments nowadays have ALS providers. They cannot take a step down in care, so a paramedic cannot hand off to an EMT on an ambulance and say, go.
I see.
That's against state law, against national everything. So, to that effect, that's where the holdup was. They cannot hand off.
and even more practically, we didn't want the BLS unit, the confusion over who was on scene, to stop a clock.
Yeah.
Yep.
We just felt like a bright line rule that the BLS units, and we softened it in the revised language that we sent back, and we said, you can put a BLS unit en route, but it cannot be the primary responder. That ALS unit has got to be primary. So I thought
We have no issue with that.
Right.
In the contract that I sent 2 weeks ago, twice in the contract, it says that all 911 calls will be answered by an ALS provider.
Well, you just said a minute ago that was a big issue.
Well, the language is stipulating what we can do with our ambulance service with BLS ambulances and what we can and cannot transport and who can attend. On a no-cost contract, we have to provide that level of service to our. If here's the issue, when the stipulation and the insurance is paid by the ambulance service and the deployment is determined, just like you said, Mr. Gaines earlier, if a BLS truck is dropping off someone in Pillahatchee from the hospital, and there's a 911 call in Pillahatchee, and they're the closest ambulance, we're going to send that BLS truck, and then we're going to send an ALS truck, but we're not going to not send a BLS truck to someone that's calling for help. And that's just what we do. And so the contract is written to where there's a lot of stipulations and there's a lot of fines and there's a lot of stuff, and that's fine, and we will do that, but we have to have buy-in from the county to support that.
I think our chiefs were concerned. I don't know if I can give this adequate voice, and Brian, you step in. I think they were concerned. They're going to have paramedics on staff, right? And I'm talking about the fire side. Okay, so they're going to have paramedics. They're on scene. It's a chaotic scene. They got to know who they're handing the patient off to. And they are not going to be able to distinguish in the heat of the moment who is my ALS guy if it's a BLS unit on scene. There could be that confusion. What does that do to that paramedic? The fireside paramedic just violated state law, handing a patient off to a lower qualified caregiver. So that was the issue, and we felt like we needed to address it because chiefs had raised it.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, Keith, y'all have had this, we're not the first one that's crossed this bridge, so how do you handle it? I mean, I'm sure you got a method of...
We do. The contract that I had sent originally, we're going to have BLS ambulance if needed. We don't really staff them that much, but we have dialysis patients and scheduled transfers and stuff like that. We'll put a BLS truck up. And remember that under billing standards, it's not actually what you staff, it's what you actually do during a transport and the level that you get to bill for that patient. So if you have 5 transports scheduled, you put BLS ambulances on there because you're only going to be able to bill BLS level. Mm-hmm. We know that we will send ALS staffed ambulances to all 911 calls. It may be myself in my Tahoe, it may be Brian, it may be a Sprint truck, it may be a BLS truck. There may be other people on the scene before the ambulance gets there. And that is expected, number one, by our oath, and number two, by our human nature of providing that care. You will have an ALS ambulance to every 911 call in the county. And we can do that. That's not a problem.
What is our best deal with no subsidy?
Your best deal, Mr. Gaines, is to allow us to run your ambulance service and come back in a year and present to you the numbers and the successes and the failures that we've had and have an open discussion of what we need to do to provide this service. We walked in here a year and a half ago to Brandon and a year ago in Pearl, and we've been providing that service for them, and they're very pleased with that. We can extend that service to you, and we don't mind doing it at no cost, but we need to be able to run the ambulance service. And we need to have transparency and open dialogue with not only Brian, the fire chiefs, but yourself, so that we can look at the successes and failures and we can maximize our effort. I don't want to take $300,000. I want to be able to stand alone with the run volume that we have and provide you a service. That's what I really, really want to do.
At the end of a year, if the real numbers state that we're not paying enough or you're not collecting enough, then, I mean, unlike what you were saying, I would be in favor of doing a subsidy. If the real numbers, however, for us to go right now and say, okay, we'll do it, we'll pay $300,000, I feel very uncomfortable because we hadn't advertised, and I know we don't have to. I know we don't have to. And I know there's been some other, in the last 10 days, some other ambulance services says, hey, wait, we're out here.
I understand that.
And so I would feel like it would be violating their, and if we can work something out and we're not paying a subsidy that we can live with, then I'm good as far as not doing RFP. But if we're going to go $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, then I think for the county and everybody, the other services, we should give everybody a fair chance at it.
Well,
we'd have to do our due diligence.
I've got a proposal on the contract that is a no-cost contract that states that we're going to we will have 7 ambulances in substations in the county. 4 of those will be in the cities of Brandon and Pearl, and 3 of those will be in the county. One of them at Florence, Richland area, one will be at Flowood area, one will be in the Reservoir area. We can do that with no cost. We have to be able to run the ambulance service. We have to have flexibility on deployment. Some days we're going to have 9 ambulances up. Some days we may only need 6 ambulances up. We're going to have 7 substations. This is a fluid piece. We'll run our numbers through MedCom. You'll have open access to those. Brian will have a page every morning at 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning of raw data he can look at. He can report back to you. 10 days after the first of the month, I can give you a report of every incorporated city in the county and our 3 districts that I've proposed. And you'll have that raw data, and it'll be transparent. Any complaint that we have from the citizens and any exception that we take, I'll let you know about it, because we can only go in this together. It's not something that we're trying to go into this and then be our hands slapped every time. We want to correct the problem. We're able to upstaff and put our logistics and our deployment at our cost to be able to provide you with the ambulance service and the response times that we expect to meet. And we're comfortable with meeting those response times in the cities around 15 minutes, and in the other incorporated pieces of the county around 30 minutes. Your first 7 calls in Rankin County will be sent from your substations that we have. And then the other calls after that will upstaff, or we'll be able to regurgitate those ambulances from the hospitals and put them back in the system. We will have some redundancy pieces pulled up, and we will have Madison County that we'll be able to share logistics and resources and disaster stuff. We have a good relationship with your current provider. They have expressed to us that they could continue running your county, and they've expressed that they could pull out of your county if we took over. We're going to have a smooth transition in Madison, and we're going to work together because we're here providing this service. I'm comfortable, Greg's comfortable, moving forward with a no-cost contract, but we're going to have flexibility and understanding that the number of ambulances and the response times are not something that's going to be disciplinary in nature, but it's going to be a trial to where we can put the correct data and move forward. In a year from the signing of the contract, come back with real information, and then you'll know if you need to subsidize an ambulance service to get the number of ambulances and response times, or we made enough transports to be able to subsidize it ourselves.
So basically, it comes down to the fine.
Well, there's other
issues. Well, I mean, but
Yeah.
if we take the fine out, you're good to go. If we put the fine in, it's $300,000.
Well, the MSOF money.
Well, there's MSOF money, there's the number of ambulances, there's the response times, there's must and shall, and there's other things that are in there that the revision. For instance, if you want me to have a no-cost contract, trust that I can provide the service that I put into that contract. I'll give you our contract, and you can look at it, and it's really just an up or down vote. It's not really something that we can, if you're asking me for a no-cost contract, with all due respect, I can tell you what I can do at no cost. I can't take your revisions and keep adding on 6 different things. It's not, I don't know anyone else that could provide that service for you like that, because I know what the current provider says, that they can provide the exact same contract that I'm giving you for free, what it's going to cost them. And you can go out for RFP, and I encourage you to do that. But the cost of not moving on a solution sometimes is a lot more than making the right decision in the first place. I've got ambulances, I've got staff, I can solve your ambulance problem, and I'm ready to do so.
Something I want y'all to keep in mind, whether it's the no cost, no subsidy, or the $300,000, as a county, your county volunteers, your people who run medical calls, are going to be losing their training that they currently have access to. They're losing the MSOF money that they currently have access to. I spoke with a couple of chiefs that said if equipment is pulled from their station, the past equipment, the vault equipment is pulled from their station, they will quit running medical calls altogether and become just a pure fire department that only runs fire calls. And that would be
Because they won't have the equipment.
Because they won't have the equipment, and their providers can't provide the care.
From what I understand, though, they have to consent to allow this.
And that's
equipment.
fine if that's in there, because the chiefs that I talked to will not consent.
Yeah.
And then also the other elephant in the room we haven't discussed is med control. And I think that y'all know that's a big issue of how we're going to handle med control. You might can speak to that today.
I can solve the med control issue. We're going to contract with on and offline medical control in the central Mississippi area. We're not going to be tied to one entity. If you would like to, that's something that MSOF funds actually could have been paid for in the county. You could have had med control in your county with your MSOF funds. That's something that you could have done prior to us coming in there. That's what we plan on using our MSOF funds to do, is to promote that. Unfortunately, MSOF funds have been allocated to buy things that are not particularly involving the use and solution of ambulance services. So that's what we want to be able to ensure that the future of MSOF funds would be used for. Number one, we just pay for our medical control contract. That's something that could have been done, should have been done, and we wouldn't have that discussion. But we will have online medical and offline medical control with a hospital and an entity and a physician here in central Mississippi.
Which comports with the revision that we asked them.
That's not an issue.
So that's-
The MSOF fund on the revision of working with the chiefs, we're not taking any equipment that anyone is using for the practice of emergency medical services and providing medical care to any fire department. But if vehicles have been purchased and equipment is being purchased that are not actively being used in the treatment and transport of citizens in this county, we feel that that should have access to us to be able to promote all the things that you want for us to solve for you in the ambulance business. That's the key with the MSOL funds.
Brian, they don't have vehicles they transport anything with, do they?
No, all the equipment is being used by the first responders to treat the patient while on scene,
Right.
and then
So that won't be a
That was the
one that Brian's riding.
Yeah, the truck EOC bought
Oh,
50,000 out of it.
you talking
We
about
don't
you?
want Brian to make those first aid calls, we can eliminate that easily.
Oh, so you're gonna? That's what you're saying?
We don't know. We haven't got a list of what's available to us. We've been told by people that cardiac monitors have been bought. We don't really know. So that's something we could work with Bob and Brian and figure out. The last thing we're going to do is come in and take away equipment. That's not what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to reallocate this equipment to put it on the ambulances that are assigned to Rankin County to provide and solve your ambulance problem. So that's what those funds are made available to. And in the private ambulance world, from the AMRs to the MedStats to the Paffords to whoever else, there's only certain areas that we can get federal and state funding, and one of those is MSOL funds. And to allocate those to operate in the county to improve our ambulance service is key. It's key to do that. That's one of the only funding sources that we have. So that's something that we don't mind working with Brian and Bob and figuring out what has been purchased, what we could use, allocate better, but we are not taking equipment that's being used in providing EMS anywhere in the county. We're not taking that equipment from anybody.
So you wouldn't be taking Brian's truck?
If your truck was bought by MSOL funds, he can have his truck. That's fine with me. I don't need a truck. I don't need his truck. That's fine.
That's been recorded.
That's fine. That's fine.
It is on.
But. We got something?
But.
well, all the other equipment that's been purchased, is light back AEDs, your heart monitors, your Lucas chest compression, things that are currently being used by each and every fire department. Every fire department in Rankin County has a light back.
Yeah, but I said he thought he said he wanted to take it from the fire department.
He said he wasn't going to take it from the fire department, maybe reallocate it to ambulances. So it would leave a fire department and go to an ambulance.
Oh.
We will not take equipment from the fire department, and that's about the 15th time.
Okay.
If you have equipment that's at the EOC on the shelf that's not being used, we need that to provide the service. Because the funds of EMSOF funds have not solved your ambulance problem. You're asking me to solve your ambulance problem. You're asking Greg to solve your ambulance problem. If there's equipment that's allocated to this county to solve the ambulance problem, I'm not sure what the contention is to give it to the ambulance provider to help you solve that. We won't take your truck. We're not going to take the equipment from the fire department. We're here to work with you as the board and these fire departments to provide this service and to solve the problem that you have. If you don't have an ambulance problem, I understand that. If you do, let me help you solve it. But if the contention is, I'm not taking an AED from a fire department or a cardiac monitor, or I'm not going to take your truck. But if there's equipment on a shelf somewhere that we can use, because in Madison County, we found that. We found radios and heart monitors that were allocated to the county that we're able to use to provide that service. That were not being used.
Okay. So basically what we're saying, if they're being used, you won't bother. Huh?
Maybe I can clarify for everybody. We don't have a cache at the EOC, other than we just ordered about 4 boxes of Tyvek suits. And we're waiting to disperse them out to the fire chiefs at the next fire chief meeting. Other than that, we don't have a cache of equipment. When we order equipment, we usually keep it there, and we'll order a dozen bags at the time to give out to responders. And if there's a cache there staying, it's waiting until the next fire chief's meeting to be dispersed to them. So there's no
surplus sitting up there.
Well, at some time there may be.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just not like it sits on the shelf.
I mean, they're sitting there in the box waiting for the next fire chief meeting. But unused equipment, like I said, there's not, I don't know where anybody said we got a cache, because I made them get rid of it. At one time, we had like 60 backboards there.
once again, I like you, I said, well, you know, we don't need 60 backboards, so we disperse them out, you know, and that's what we've done ever since I've been there. So there's not a cache or a group of equipment that's sitting down there. The only EMSOF money, like I said, we spent one on the fire truck, or on the, not a fire truck, but on the truck that Brian is using now through EMSOF funds, that Brian uses to go to the calls. If they don't want him to go, if y'all don't want him to go to the calls, that's fine. We can stop that this afternoon. But, you know, sometimes in the rural areas, there's nobody responding. You know, some of the guys from my office, including myself, go to these calls. I mean, we could stop that. That's the decision the board can make right now.
Bob, how much money's left in that EMSOF account right now?
I don't know. Laura can tell that. And some of the requirements on the spending.
Left over from last year?
No, we have no
Nothing?
money. We never have any additional fund. Once in a while, we escrow. We have none left from this last year.
Because it allows you to carry it over. I just didn't know if we spent
Right,
all of
you
it
can
last year.
escrow 3. We have no funds left. We have spent all that
Okay.
we were allowed to escrow. And the money this year is going to be less because Pearl now gets their money. So
Brandon,
we were
yeah.
getting 80-something, we'll only be getting 50-something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no, yeah. And, you know, trust me, I could care less, you know, it would just be less, you know, research that we would have to do, looking up stuff and, you know, like we're talking about. You know, the Tyvek suits and different things that the fire chiefs tell us they need, that's what we try to go with. And it's dispersed out, you know, throughout the county. And what, you know, Lake Harbor gets, the same thing that Puckett gets, same thing that Star gets. So everybody gets the same thing, you know. And
I don't think we
there's-
got to get hung up on this.
Yeah.
You know, the big thing is we have a proposal that they're willing to do our service for, and we either accept it or we don't.
Quick question. No cost, Keith, 7 buses. You're required by your contract in Brandon and Pearl to have at least 1 bus in each of those cities at all time? And so that leaves maybe 5 buses for the rest of the county, or municipalities in the counties?
Well, the contracts in Brandon and Pearl, they have been relaxed. We actually, in the contract, have to have an ambulance available to respond to Brandon and Pearl. So we're out of ambulances today. We put that 1 ambulance at I-20 and Airport Road. So it's technically in Pearl, but it's there in Brandon, and we're meeting our response times, and that's been relaxed, so that's not an issue. So I hope that answered your question, Mr. Morrow, but we're going to be able, if there's a call, the last ambulances is at I-20 and Airport Road, and there's a call in the county, that ambulance is going to go to that call. So we're going to make our logistics and our deployment happen to be able to provide the best ambulance service for the most people in the next ambulance call. So we will. So to answer, we're not going to have an ambulance sitting in Brandon and sitting in Pearl while there's an EMS call holding outside the county. We've talked to the mayors and the fire chiefs, and they do understand that.
Well, the same thing applies if you have one out here.
Absolutely.
You're going to shoot him in.
Absolutely.
I mean, that goes
Absolutely.
without saying, I think. Yeah.
And you know, we would love to be able to say this is going to be a perfect solution at all times. We're going to have some hiccups. That's why that reevaluation at 1 year is so important on the raw data and what we've been able to provide. But you know, being able to run Brandon and Pearl and Florence and Flowood and the reservoir, and to be able to meet the response time requirements that I don't know if you're getting in the county today or not, because we don't know the data. Nobody can tell us the data.
I think the biggest thing is like the Star, Puckett's, Pelahatchie, Sand Hill, etc. Those are the ones that are the biggest concerns.
They are. And if we have 1 ambulance left, we know that 1 ambulance is going to be responding from inside your county and not from outside your county. So, like I said, this is kind of a mixture of a solution. It's probably not the best solution, but I do know that we can work through this for a calendar year and see where we're at.
What? You got a group of chiefs back here sitting quiet. I'd love to hear some of y'all's take on this.
This is out. That's why.
Anybody?
He wants out.
Is there anyone from the outer edges of the county here? Any of the chiefs from Puckett,
I ain't worried about that as much as.
Lake Harbor, or any of those places? No?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Well, if you're from Brandon,
All right.
Pearlwood, Pearl.
Who's first? Jump in.
Fire away.
No, I just want to know what y'all's take are, what you feel like, and what you're hearing. What?
I see what he's saying. I do agree that we have to be a little dynamic in this, and this is kind of we're just trying to, more or less experiment. I mean, we know what we have now, and we have some times that are running long now, and we're asking. We ask Keith to fix our problem. I think that's, he's going to make the best effort. I don't know. I mean, we've addressed all the issues. We've been working on this 2 years. So I mean, there's no question what we want and what we expect, and I think that we've got to do something. I feel. I don't know what the answer is.
As far as the contract come up, I don't think I've made, I think everybody pretty much knows where I stand on my major issues. One of them is the med control for our personnel, and the other one is on the BLS trucks. And it's like he stated, we run a lot of ALS on our engines and pumpers, and having that BLS element does not give us the ability to transfer patient care. So we need to ensure that we have that continuum of care going. As far as the EMSOF monies and different things like that, I think that's going to impact your volunteer realm more than it's going to do, me especially. I mean, that's totally up to y'all how y'all want to interact as far as that goes. Training, same thing there. I think the bigger departments are going to be able to absorb that better than what your small rural departments are. So I think those are the challenges that y'all are going to have to face. Our biggest, issues will be BLS showing up on the scene that we do not need. I'll be perfectly honest with you. And making sure that we have proper online med control in case our medics get in a bind and they need a doctor to talk to. That's where we are.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here to hear all the ins and outs. I wish everybody could be, because this is a tough decision. And obviously the $300,000 is not easy to do.
About what is the value of the training and I think the fund is somewhere around 70, 80,000.
It's going to be 50-something.
56. Okay. So all right. What's the value of the training that we're giving up?
You have to. That's something you would have to talk to Brian about.
That's a Brian answer there. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, a good portion of the money is spent for equipment just because it takes the most of it. I would probably say at this point 30% would be for training.
And that's something we'll have to incur if we go with this, probably with this contract.
Right.
With the no subsidy contract.
And at this point, I don't know how much. I talked with Mr. Carter here a couple of days ago and asked how much would these classes cost, and I was told that they're not in the education business, so I can't give you a price on how much.
But there is somebody to provide that training for us here locally if we decide to pursue that.
Some are at community colleges.
People are doing those refresher classes everywhere.
Yeah, and that's taught through the college,
yeah,
so you can get a refresher class through Hines Community College or anything like that. So
Brian,
that part,
did we pay any additional monies on top of the EMSOF funds for training?
EMS wise, not to my knowledge.
So really, we're looking at $50,000 then, or at the max 80, whenever before Pearl and Brandon left.
So we would be with the no cost, we really got about an $80,000 subsidy. I mean, in real monies that we're going to pay to be even where we were last year.
That's right.
For training.
Yep.
Let me make sure I understand right, Keith. Your no-cost subsidy, there is no financial punitive damage for missing the times.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'll address, if
Is
I
that
can.
correct? That's the same in Brandon and Pearl. Is that what's in their contract?
I think there actually is something on response times in Brandon and Pearl. I think that it is it the 250 I think, Chief?
Yeah, I can speak to some of that.
Yeah, and then I'd like to try to...
It's a little bit different situation in Brandon and Pearl in that the fire chiefs in both cities are the determinator of how this is applied, like in repeated offenses, so to speak. You know, what's repeated, 1, 2,
What does
5?
the contract say?
It says that it will be determined by the fire chief if a penalty is to be applied. So that's how we word it there. So let me give you an example. We have a delayed response for whatever reason to a call, and then we look at that response and we see that there were some factors there, it just wasn't clear cut that they just didn't go. And so the fire chief can make the determination to waive that penalty. However, if he determines that the ambulance was just sitting in the station, they got the call and they just said, well, we're going to take our time and not go, then the fire chief on the same level can say, yeah, we're going to fine them this much for not responding. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we did it within our districts. It gives us the ability to manage it correctly, plus it allows Palford to be able to run the ambulance service.
How many times have y'all fined them?
We've not had a delayed response yet.
Okay.
Are you satisfied with the information you're getting back from them as far as their times and it matching up and all that kind of information that we're going to have to rely on 12 months from now if we go this route?
I get updates daily. I give the board an update monthly. So we get a monthly end of the month report that I'm able to go through, and all the calls, the response times, and everything are included in that.
Okay.
I'd like maybe I'll go ahead and go as far as say I'll support the zero subsidy, what you're proposing, Keith. I'll live with it, but I'm saying let's maybe pull it back into a 6-month window as opposed to a 12-month window. If we got as good a data as what the chief has been telling us, I know I was on the board there for a while with the city when he would give us that information. To let us gauge maybe at 6-month window, maybe we need to go ahead and start tweaking. And if we look at it 6 months, and let's go on to that annual anniversary too, to say, okay, now let's go 12 months and see the constant. The fact you're going to give 7 buses in the county, and you're willing to work, and the success that the city of Brandon and the city of Pearl has had, got to account for something compared to what we've been experiencing in the past. And I think Steve and I are going to take the biggest on the chin of the 2 supervisors up here probably because of the rural area, and that's why I want a little shorter window on 6 months to see. I'm going to get chewed on probably fairly well, but so be it.
I think you might have 3 involved
right
with
now.
I don't think you're by yourself.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's my point on the subsidy side. To be sure we're covering those other areas, that's the additional funds they need to be sure they're covering yours and Steve's.
We don't have $300,000 to put out there.
Well, I mean, it's a small price to me to pay to be sure we got EMS covered.
Right.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't ever vote on the 300,000, but I'd want to solicit it and have transparency and everybody get a chance to put their bid in.
Before we
Because I've
just
had
went
several people
voted
that,
on
there's been
300,000.
3 others that would be interested if we want to put out our RFP.
Before we could go there, we'd have to. I think we would.
I'd like to make one additional statement. I realize what you're going through with this because having dealt with it for a while. But the deal on the flexibility of allowing them to operate their service, we looked at that because we wanted a zero cost for Brandon, of course, when we went in. And Bob was sit on that. When you remember, Bob, we talked about this. The only way to do that is to allow the ambulance service flexibility to adjust their truck to meet the call volume that they're getting. And that's how we did it. We only require them to keep 1 truck in the city of Brandon at all times. And we did that because we have an EMS district. We wanted a truck in our district. Now, when Palford came on board, they said, well, we're going to put 3 trucks up to make sure because we don't have any numbers. So they did. After a little while, they found out, well, we only need 2. So they went back to 2 trucks. That's, as far as Brandon's concerned, they can run it with 1 or 5. Right. If they're meeting that response criteria, that's all you can ask. So that's why we got with the no-cost ambulance service.
Well, I would suggest that we look, I guess, again. I think Keith said he's had 5 contracts, but really he sent that 1 contract 5 times. It's been maybe a little bit of tweaking, but it's been the same one from the very beginning. I would like for us to have a chance to let's see if there's something that's just a deal breaker that Jay says, I just can't live with this. I don't know what it would be, but it's in lieu of us saying right now I want it or I don't, from that 5th contract that.
Well, we went over things in our last meeting
I know,
that we added that
it was about,
we thought were
15 of them.
Well, one was the med control, another
The
was
med control they
adding
fixed.
the penalty phase. And
You know, the
that's
deal is,
being
how many
taken
times
off
have we
now.
collected penalty from AMR?
None.
None. So I don't wanna hang that up, so keep going.
That's why I'm saying I'm willing to give it that 6-month window or that 12-month window to see.
But you're not, you're doing a 4-year contract.
But, help me out, Counselor, I mean, you know.
The current revision, and this is as discussed with the board at the last board meeting, was that we would go with a 4-year contract with a review period at the anniversary date. What I did was I packed 30 days on either side of the anniversary date for that to happen. As my thought was, who knows when we may be in a position to discuss it. I wanted to give us the flexibility. So 30 days before the anniversary date, or up to 30 days after the anniversary date, there would be a review. There would be a mutual agreement concerning the continuation of the contract. It either mutually we agree that it will extend for the 4-year term, or mutually we agree the contract needs to be terminated, the county goes out to RFP. So that's the current language on the table. What I have heard, and I want to get clarification on, is, and this is what we need to know, if we convert this to a 1-year contract with renewals, is that something Packard can live with?
I mean, if you're doing your job.
I just don't want to, with the call volume, the unknown, I don't want to come in 2,000 calls short and lose $1 million. You know, that's reality. If me or anybody else is going to come back to you and say, hey guys, I need money because we're 1,000 or 2,000 calls short from what the state's reporting, what the EOC's reporting, that's reality. And we can't get an accurate number to know what we're going to collect. We know what we're going to collect, but we don't know what number to program in there. We've got a 1.5 years worth of data. We know what our collection rates are, but we don't know the true call volume. And me or AMR or anybody can't come give you an honest. We're throwing shooting the dart in the dark. But if we have flexibility, you know, Saturdays and Sundays, there's not, dialysis centers are not open, the doctor's office is not open. You're not going to have 10 or 12 transfers that day.
Right.
So if we can cut down maybe 6 ambulances on Sunday, you know, that will make a difference in payroll.
And it's an excellent point.
I don't
think
have a
Barry's
problem.
pointing out right now, the language of the contract that created some heartburn on our side was 2 little words. It was up to. The language said that they would provide up to 7 ambulances. We removed up to, it now says 7. I think this is where it's got heartburn on this side. So the current language of the contract, with the Sunday example that Greg just gave you, they would not be allowed to downstaff. They would have to put that 7th bus on Sunday when they're telling you, why do we have that there?
What about if
Give
it
us
said
the
up to
flexibility.
7, but not less than 5?
Yes, that makes sense. That's fair enough.
Fair enough.
What about?
But you know, you were right about the AMR that we haven't paid, but that don't mean that we don't need to correct it going forword.
I mean, if we can adjust, if we
I'm okay
revisit
with the
this
year,
in a
we're looking at a year,
If we-
6
if-
months below.
If they're out of
Question, let me ask a question, Craig. Would it be prudent to have something in there and make sure that, you know, if we do the review at the end of 12 months and we're not satisfied, or we can't come to a meeting of the minds and we decide, okay, they're going to require a subsidy of whatever number, okay, if we don't have to subsidy, we'll have to go out to RFP. We want to make sure that we still have, they're continuing to have ambulance service while we're doing the best we can to get the RFP out there.
It's in the contract right now, Bob, and I don't know that there's been any, we haven't had to have any discussion on that because
No,
it's been a non-issue.
No, it's fine. I mean,
There's specific language.
And I appreciate what Jay said, and I do want penalties involved. I think that's what holds your feet to the fire, but also realize where these guys are headed. They just don't have that information they need before they go step out there and do on a no subsidy contract. And if we're going to roll that dice on no subsidy, I'm willing to waive the fine provision. Go down to 5 on the weekends if that's what, you know, they think they can make that work, and let's just see where we come 6 months from now or in a year.
Well, if we're gonna do that, then we need to give other people opportunity to at least look at our business too then. Because we were making a deal with these guys.
That's a
Now we're
lot, that's
downsizing.
tweaking it a lot.
Now we're downsizing.
We were making a deal with these guys based off of 7 ambulances, no subsidy,
Right.
and we were going to have a contract just like what Brandon did, which included penalties. And now
we're taking
that's
that out and
changed.
we're cutting the ambulances down.
The original contract that they sent us back 2 weeks ago, that's not the original, sorry about that. The contract they sent us, that we tweaked in the last board meeting. Yeah, you're right. that we discussed in the last board meeting, I'm good with on the zero subsidy side. I don't think that's enough, but, I mean, I can live with it for the first year. I don't think it's enough.
But you're not gonna penalize me when I put 9 ambulances up on
That's right.
Monday or Tuesday to meet the response times.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's busy. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
there's nights that we might only make 3 calls in between Brandon and Pearl after midnight. Most people go to bed after midnight. So there's maybe a 6 or 8 hour window that we could use that 6 or 8 hours during the busy times for flexibility and deployment. You know, that's all we need. And then a year down the road, we come back and say, there's 14,000 transports, we're good. But if I keep having to add ambulances, you know, throughout this contract, you know, it won't ever work. But I'm willing to work with y'all for a year and look at it and go from there.
The only problem I have, we keep, like you said, right now, like you said, we're shaving this and shaving that. Like Jay, we might have, maybe need to look at it if we're gonna shave all this off. It's tough call. We've gotten a long way, I agree.
Well, and let's be realistic now. If a year in, we're not going to be able to go out for RFP at that point in time if we're not making ends meet currently, because then that's going to be a whole nother process to go through.
And we don't mind being the test tube baby for this project, but to be quite honest, we'll give you a realistic evaluation. I've got 2 $100,000 ambulances with 0 miles on them, brand new, with about $25,000 or $30,000 worth of equipment on them in our Pearl office, waiting on your decision. I'm fixing to do something else with those ambulances because we've been waiting for 6 months. We've upstaffed, we've prepared, we've hired, we've trained. The cost of not making the decision, and we've you know, we're doing the very best that we can. We're young guys.
Why did you go ahead and invest in 6 months? They've been sitting there 6 months.
We bought 7 ambulances when we came into the Brandon and Pearl contracts.
Okay.
We bought 7 ambulances. We've got 5 staffed, and I've got 2 more. Because this time last year, we anticipated in the next year or so trying to solve your ambulance problem with the county. So for the last 6 months, we've been in discussions with you guys. So we didn't want to be able to, it takes about 2 months to get our ambulances built. So we took that financial burden and we did that.
Right.
We've got about $1 million in ambulances that are financed to provide this service for Rankin County, the cities of Brandon and Pearl. We've upstaffed too many ambulances in Brandon and Pearl. The data is there. A year's data in Brandon, I can tell you exactly where every single call was, and the average response time was 5 minutes and 3 seconds.
Well, I would imagine so.
And there is nowhere else in any city in the United States of Brandon and Pearl that can even come close to the response times that we're providing for those citizens. And so we're young guys. I've been a paramedic for 25 years. Greg's been a paramedic for 25 years. We're young guys. We want to do this for a living. We want to provide this service for you. So we've gone out on those contracts with Brandon and Pearl, and we've put those against financing trucks. The contract that we would have to have with the county would have to be long enough to where we could sustain our bank to finance our equipment and our trucks. We want to do this thing right. But it discourages me that I'm trying to do it right, and we just can't get the opportunity to solve your ambulance problem. Because Brandon had an ambulance problem, Pearl had an ambulance problem, and I have to be quite honest with you, I don't even know what the contract says anymore because we don't even talk about the contract. We talk about having too many ambulances, and the fire departments don't even get to do any EMS stuff because the ambulance is with the fire department all the time. So we've taken and solved their ambulance problem, and we're offering that service to you, and we can do it. I can do it the way that you want it written for $300,000 subsidy minimum. I can do it the way we have it written at no cost for a 4-year contract, and at 6 months we can have a mini analysis. At 1 year we can come back and look at that with wording Mr. Slay wants to put in there, and that's fine with us, that we reevaluate this and I can give you the hard data. We can audit that data. You can have that raw data nightly if you'd like to. If you'd like for your phone to go off at 2:30 in the morning, I'll put your email address on there and you can get the raw data of the night before. We're not scared of transparency and raw data because we as a team, the fire departments, the EOC, and yourself will solve this to make and provide an ambulance service that we're all proud of.
But you gotta understand, in our position, when you're talking about taking time, look how many people we're looking for us to solve this for them and have the answer. So, I mean, it's a big thing for us. So, with 6 months, I agree, it's taking some time. It is taking time. But, I mean, that's what we have to answer, and they're looking at us for this answer. All these fire departments, these chiefs, have spent many hours trying to give feedback. We're trying to mediate for all of them.
I understand
so
that.
You got to understand that.
And I really do. And to the point to where we've actually, in the last couple of nights, we were able to, myself and Greg were actually to get a radio from Rankin County Fire and listen to the dispatch to try to listen to what we would be able to do. And it's disheartening to us to be clinicians and paramedics to know that we've got ambulances that are closer to calls in your county, but we can't send our ambulance there.
I think it comes down pretty simple. If we want to get what we want, it's going to cost us $300,000. If we want to get what they can provide us with no subsidy, we have to go with what they ask for, and there is a gap, and it's, I guess, 3 people here will determine which way it goes or not, and I'm really right in the middle.
Well, I'm concerned about bending too much and not looking elsewhere.
I think that's with the 6 months and
if that
12-month window.
chief wasn't here, and that chief wasn't here, and the others that have really shown some trust in these guys and their history, I would probably say y'all get out of here. Yeah, but they have, everywhere they've been that I've heard, they do come highly recommended, and I don't have that same background on any other service, I guess. That even has shown some interest.
I'm prepared to move forward with the zero subsidy based on what they want to do.
Ron, what's your input?
Yes, sir.
Just a minute. Go ahead.
Can we get some clarification, please, just on the med control and the PSAP response with zero subsidy?
Okay. The med control, I met with Dr. Darcy yesterday for about an hour and a half. I've met with Clyde Deschamps also. There's 4 options that we're looking at in med control, online and offline, and we will pick one of those options. But in business negotiations is what's best for our service and what we can tie into all the counties. We're looking and evaluating all those on protocols and what we want to do. I think we're getting very, very close. And I know what we kind of want to go with, but we will have online and offline medical control with a physician and an entity in the Jackson Metroplex area. That will be extended to every fire department, volunteer and paid. We will conjoin. We're working on training and education and quality assurance and CQI, continued quality improvement, so that everybody's working off the same piece, and we're plugged into your paramedics at Flowood, and we'll be able to work that out. That's not going to be an issue.
What about our PSAP dispatch on the?
Before you move on
Yes,
the timeline on that way.
Before May 10th, because we're going to start Madison May 10th. So we will have that solved for our service in Madison and all the services in Madison by May 10th. So that's something else that we'll do.
Keith.
And my plan to fund that is through EMSOF funds from each county. So that is a county contract with us, but it's something that we use EMSOF funds to handle our med control and our QA and some of our training internally, so that's something that the county has that we can solve. I'm sorry to turn my back to you guys.
I was just saying, when you said about Madison, if you've got those 2 ambulances and they're sitting still, you're not gonna hurt our feelings if you use them in Madison. in 2
I've already
weeks.
ordered 6 brand new ones for Madison.
Dang it.
They're coming in. They're on the trucks coming down.
Okay.
Hey, tell me what the Madison deal is one time, Chief, if you don't mind.
What would you like to know?
Just
Mr.
your
Carson?
contract over there. I mean, is it 6 ambulances?
No, sir. It's the Madison contract with the numbers that we have projected is
Yeah.
4 24-hour substation ambulances, and then we have the flexibility to, and we have the ability to move up from there. We don't. That's a set number. We know we don't want to run that county with less than 4, so we have 4 24-hour trucks stationed in the county, and then we up staff depending on call volume and response times to meet our response times. So it's a very flexible contract, but they agreed and we agreed that 4 substations is where we want to be.
Keith, is that a 4-year contract?
That is a 4-year contract, renewable for the next board at 4 years.
They got around 100,000 people, we have 150.
Yes, sir. And they have,
They have less miles, though.
Sir?
They have less square miles.
They do. And they're cylindrical with their population.
Right, they're not as spread out.
Yes, sir. I was going to, Chief Barry? Okay. All right, so BLS calls, in your scenario, if somebody's dropping off at one of your nursing homes in Flowood.
We're not talking about transport. I'm
Okay.
talking strictly 911.
No. We ALS all the time, every 911 call will get a paramedic truck. If a BLS truck gets there, or a Sprint truck gets there, or Greg gets there, or I get there, or you get there, it's just a first response module to get someone on the scene. Every PSAP call will have a paramedic ALS ambulance on it. Chief Barry.
Paramedic ALS transport.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will staff all 7 trucks, 5 to 7 trucks no less than 5, and upstaff any additionals with paramedics to make that ALS in the contract. That's an EMT and a paramedic to make an ALS truck. If we put a BLS truck in any response, it will be a first response only because they were the closest thing available. We haven't staffed a BLS truck in 6 or 8 months. With our staffing module now with Pearl and Brandon, we've got plenty of employees. We have no turnover. There's no need to put in a BLS truck. When you run the pro forma of being able to have access to a paramedic instead of a BLS truck, if you don't have them scheduled out, there's not really a lot of difference. You might as well just go ahead and staff a paramedic for your thing. Does that make sense to you? Yes, sir.
I just want to be clear with the board and y'all working with us, so when this comes out on the housing, I know there was a housing discussion on where to put the.
Right.
So give us time enough to work out, some kind of criteria on the housing, and then, work out, we'll work before the budget season on, the actual cost for the training, the recurring training.
Let me address training, we
That's
didn't
gonna
put.
be, well, the reason I'm saying that's big, not only with paid guys on the time that we have to do, but also on the volunteer side.
Big on
To
volunteer.
keep
So,
those guys trained up.
We took the attachment 2 off on one revision. Brian wanted us to list our costs and our prices for classes. So after talking with that, and I did tell you that, Brian, not something I wanted you to repeat in the board meeting, but we have a lot of education. Our medical director and the medical control facility that we're going to contract with will have a lot of education in QA at our expense and MSOF expense. In our contract, it says any education that we have is open to everyone in the county, volunteer paid, at any time, at no cost. But when we go in to look at providing education at a cost and doing that, we don't have an education component, and it should not be put in this contract to provide and solve your ambulance problem. If we need to look at the colleges, private entities, work with Brian, the fire departments on education that they need, we can find funds for that. We can help fund that. MSOF can help fund that. But that should not be a piece and a component to solving your ambulance problem. In the contract, it says that everyone in the county is open to come to any of our education free of charge. But to provide an education component at a cost, I really don't know what we could provide other than, if I'm not providing it in the ambulance service, I don't probably need to be providing it. Does that make sense?
Well, I think there was just in the contract, it showed attachment 2.
Yeah.
And there was no attachment 2.
There's not, and that's something that came back on a revision of, tell us what classes you would provide and what the charges are. We've elected to say we're not going to go into the education business, so.
That was raised by the chiefs in the chiefs meeting And it was simply to clarify so they would know what to tell their guys as far as the offering of the training that would be made. I think our current provider operates in that fashion, and it was a part of that particular agreement, so I think it sort of just bled over.
That's what I wanted, just clarification on that, because our current provider does offer the gamut of classes, and if they have your med control, which all the firefighters do, you're welcome to come over there, attend the classes, and they charge a card fee. That's all I was looking for.
Yeah, no, that's something that we'll...
Because the normal price for ACLS is $150 a person, and a current provider only charges $5 for the card.
And we'll do exactly the same thing.
Okay.
And we'll do exactly the same. If we're providing the course, all the responders can come, and cost of the card are free at that. But anything that we're not providing, we're not getting into that business line. What else did I not?
You making all these notes, Brian? You taking notes? Good.
Can, Mr. Slay, would you be so kind to kind of summarize kind of what has been agreed to, that they've concession, and we've kind of said whatever we said?
Yes,
before noon.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I may allow this, I think at this point it's imperative for there to be a clear and adequate meeting of the minds, both sides, that at this point, given the number of revisions that have been put on the table, we would be well served to have Keith and Greg come back to us with, this is the no subsidy contract.
Yes.
Because at this juncture, it's hard for me looking at multiple revisions to know what is in and what is out. I'll tell you why. The talk about we can't do what you've asked for without a subsidy kind of surfaced in earnest at this most recent revision. There may be some language that our chiefs wanted, that we inserted, that both sides are fine with, that I'd like to reserve. So we need a, this is the deal for no subsidy up to 7 buses, not less than 5. I think we've agreed we got to get that in there. That's not in any revision at this stage. And we need to make sure that everybody's clear on the term and this 1-year look. I want to make sure we got real good, clear meeting of the mind on how we're going to structure it. We want a 4-year deal with a 1-year look.
I agree. I think you're right, and I was sitting there thinking we've gone back and forth and added this and taken this out, and we could do this, we couldn't do this, but yeah, we can do this. We didn't think you could, but now you said you could, like the training. I think we need to wait and maybe bring this up the 28th. I mean, between now and then, surely we can both.
I've got the revised contract. I can email Mr. Slate right now.
And we can then give him time to look at it and everything. I like his idea, and I think that's the way we need to be, the safest thing to do it. And in the meantime, we can.
What is your mind in 1-year look? What does that mean, 1-year look?
Yeah, good question.
You want to know what the language says right now?
Yeah. I mean, what are our options that come 1 year?
Yeah.
Everything centers around mutual agreement of the parties. Everything. Okay? So, in other words, we're not happy with Pafford, and Pafford is not happy with Rankin County. Walk away, no questions asked. We're looking for a subsequent provider. Rankin County's not happy, Pafford's happy. We've got an issue. We have a potential conflict because that's not mutual agreement. Pafford's not happy, we're happy. We've got an issue because there's not mutual agreement. I don't know any other way to structure this review when you say on the front end it's a 4-year deal, because their lender's going to look at any sort of squishy wiggle room and say this ain't a 4-year deal.
Here's Daniel's 2 cents. The contract we left with last week, or 2 weeks ago in our meeting, that we all agreed on here at the table, that we listened to from the EMS committee and the groups, and we all discussed and talked about, that's what I think is in the best interest of the county. Having said that, that requires a subsidy. The other one doesn't. The other one's the reason we altered the one last week, because we didn't agree with it. So, my thing is, the subsidy makes me sleep a little bit better at night to know the areas in the other parts of the county are covered. That's what it means.
Well,
to
we
me.
can also look at that, though, in a year, and then you can, if that is the option that we have to go to make those changes because there are problems, then that's something we can look at then. But, or starting in 6 months. But I'm just saying, I think that's the time we would start looking at it. I don't think we need to jump right out there and say, okay, we're going to pay the $300,000. First off, it's not budgeted for it, and we need, but I understand and agree with what you said. The rural community is, that's what I look at and work toward and working toward this, but I also understand the spending of tax dollars. And
but the zero subsidy contract that we put out, sent to that EMS committee, they didn't agree with. So we'd be going against what that EMS committee that was formed recommended.
But they may not. They may agree with it if it's. They may look at it a little differently when they realize it could cost you $300,000.
Well, I think there was some main parts that has been agreed to, some of it, but some of it's not.
Central Mississippi.
The med control, the med control,
the training
was one.
Yeah, that's right.
The med control, the ALS responders.
And then taking our all up. I mean, it was almost like a scary thing. They're going to come in and take our trucks and all our equipment, and when in fact they're not.
And explain that, right, that being explained was clear today, and that's just like I'm saying this too. I think we need to see that where we understand it in that contract. Also, this would give at some point Brian time to notify or let the other chiefs, the ones that have been in these meetings, if we have to have another meeting, pull them together and let's go over that, let them see that. So I think right now it's too quick today.
Well, those two items and then the penalty was the three things that was major. That was because we had already addressed the fees, the MSOF money, or whatever you call it. We had already said we would take care of that, so that wasn't really an issue. And it was those three things, and really we're down to one, which is the fines.
Can I add one more
Yeah,
thing?
please.
I do want Mr. Carter to run the ambulance service for us, if he's the one that this board chooses. But the terminology you're using, no less than 5 and no more than 7, we run 1,700 medical calls, transports a year out of the reservoir area. If we take that up to 7 out, in case.
Yeah, just leave it no less than 5.
Yeah. Put 8 or 9 if it costs.
Yeah.
But just take the up to part.
I don't think we have a problem.
Is that a deal breaker?
And we have there's language in there. There's language in our contract that says that we will deploy more ambulances to meet the response time in the demand. That makes sense.
Okay.
I don't like that up to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
To Scott's point, I think the up to 7 is unnecessary, quite honestly. It was the figure that we worked from because it made us all comfortable about buses in the county.
And that's the number of substations that we're going to have in the county, of house substations. A couple of other language items that, all from your revision, our numbers have to come from our computer-aided dispatch, not the county's. If you want me to be able to run my ambulance service, I've got to run my numbers. And that number has to be a trust factor that's transparent and that can be audited. But I can't run my ambulance service on the county's dispatch system. That's been changed 3 or 4 times. Is that a problem?
Yes.
With the EOC or
it's been a problem forever with us because of run times. You know?
Okay.
And I didn't know that was going to be an issue with you, but.
Well, I can't. My Medcom, we have GPS in every one of our ambulances. We have a Zoll dispatch system that's coordinated with our laptops that we do patient care reports with. All of that's integrated in an algorithm that I get my times at raw data at 2 o'clock in the morning. The data is raw and it's actual time data. So and I guess Chief Kibbe, Chief Wages can talk to you about how we report those times, but he can take those times and go to his call on his city and compare those times. Well, and I think that's pretty accurate, but I can't put my algorithms in the county dispatch to get you the data that you would need, that we need to run an ambulance service. That make sense? We can audit that data. I don't mind doing that. I can send all of my run data to Brian, and he can pull the county's data. He can sit and plug that on a map. We've talked about that in a couple of work sessions, but I can't access the county's data to be able to make the algorithms that I need to run my ambulance service.
Could your ambulance driver not tell
my paramedics?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know the drivers were paramedics.
Well, they're EMTs.
Okay.
Okay.
Never use the
Your
word driver.
personnel, could they not dispatch when they get on scene? Key up and tell our dispatch they're on scene?
No, sir. That's a slippery slope. We don't mind the fire departments telling their command that they're on scene. I think that's a normal practice now. What I've been listening to the last 3 or 4 nights.
Right.
But it's not something that we've had that issue before. We've been in the ambulance business for a while in rural environments, and we've tried to have checks and balances, and it doesn't work when the ambulance service doesn't control their data so that I can give you the actual report. And there's just got to be a trust factor there, and we can audit that data. That's not a problem. But when you get paramedics and EMTs responding to calls and talking to different dispatches at different stuff, their mind's not on performing their duties and driving their ambulance. It's an unsafe environment. I do not recommend that, and there's a linear process of how we could do that.
Question.
Yes, sir.
4-year deal. Looking at it 1 year or 6 months, whichever we decide to go with, trying to provide some remedy in there so it still keeps your banker happy. You have any ideas what language you might be able to come up with that gives us the opportunity to say if the run times are off or whatever, or start implementing the fines because do you know where I'm headed with this? I mean, I understand the 4 years. I understand the need to keep. Everybody's got that problem to finance the deal. But we need something though in that 6-month window, that 12-month window, to say, okay, how can we solve these issues? What remedies that still gives you a decent contract the bank will live with?
There are conditions and circumstances that constitute a breach of the agreement by Pafford, Bob. It's a separate item in the contract. Hasn't been discussed because neither side has had any issue with it, but it basically lays out about 10 specific items of breach. Inadequate runtime performance is one of those items. If they're not hitting their targets, we're going to make that an issue. Whether it's 6 months or 12 months or 14 days, we're going to make that an issue. It's a specific item of breach. And there are a number of others. Failure of their employees to conduct themselves in a professional manner. These are all listed as breach items that we can bring back to the table. To your point, and this is where I think this is probably headed on this look back thing. But the most likely circumstance at 12 months, if there's going to be significant painful discussions about the operation of the agreement, will come from Pafford telling us we can't keep doing this because our numbers aren't where they need to be, and if y'all want to keep us under this deal, we need $300,000. That's what 12 months would look like.
To put in this revision that I haven't sent Mr. Slay yet, but it would say, it's actually number 69 in my revised contract. It says after 1 year, the county of Pafford will evaluate the transport totals from Rankin County and determine a subsidy and deployment plan for years 2, 3, and 4 of this contract. If audited, all call transport totals by Pafford for the county are less than $13,500. Pafford will require a subsidy of $300,000 annually to continue this contract. If we do $14,000, we do $13,501.
Do $15,000, you write us a check.
If I do $15,000, you're going to have more ambulances than 7, and you're not going to have a problem with your ambulance service. You'll be solved for the rest of the time.
So
we're here.
the added provision would that be if it's under 13.5 and they want the subsidy, the county then has the right to go to RFP.
Yeah, they're telling you on the front end.
Yeah,
it's in their contract because they're going under.
Yeah,
because we won't be able to go out to RFP, and then when you get, and then we'll just go out to RFP, and that number will be what it is when you get our RFP.
I'm ready to make a
motion.
So
we can agree that if we get to a point of a subsidy, that we will open it for other vendors to come in.
Yep. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sure.
That language right there just gave you the ability to do that very thing under the contract.
irrespective of any other potential breach item.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, now, those breach items are pretty standard in the industry. If we don't provide the service, we don't provide the service, you know what I'm saying? This allows you to be able to say with a vote that you're gonna contract with us for 2, 3, 4, or you can go out on RFP, because we're not making those numbers, we can't do it.
I still think we need to do just like you said, Mr. Slay, is let him come up with it and we can decide. This is not a thing we have to decide today.
We meet Monday on the 18th, so hopefully you can get these contracts merged together. And you read it over, Craig, that what's been discussed here is actually in there, and we'll take it up the 18th, Monday.
I didn't have anything to do over the weekend anyway.
I'm sorry.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, why we gotta do it 18th?
I got one more
God, that's a quick.
We gotta have the meeting the 18th for
I know,
that.
but why do we have to have
for that PIP?
for this? This is that's a little quick for this.
I don't think so. I can live with 18.
We got a quorum, gotta be here anyway, the 18th.
No, I don't. I think the 18th is too quick. The chief, these other people that have been involved need to be aware of what we're doing.
That's one more question, is that, and I don't know how many different contracts, I know they went over a couple dozen. Does this one we're talking about have the jurisdictions identified or the response time?
That was already in there.
Okay, so it's, because like I said, I know there's been like 14 plans.
It's District 1, 2, and 3.
It'll give you a chance to make sure.
We're comfortable with that. It makes sense to me.
I'll tell you what, 2 and 3, north of 520 and south of 520, so you can identify what you need. Fireman can actually see that all that, that's fine.
Huh?
All right, get together and let's look at it.
Monday.
I mean, I'm waiting on lunch to get here.
All right.
Contract.
Okay.
Shoot it to me, brother.
Yep.
I'm not for trying to pull this off on the 18th. I don't believe. I mean, he's gonna get it together, and I mean, you're talking about the weekend.
They got nothing else to do, right, Craig?
Yeah, right.
Not now.
Jared, it's not much changes that needs to be made to it.
I do want to address one more change,
let them know.
because I don't want this to be heartache when you get this email in 5 minutes. And I don't know if this is the forum I need to bring this up in, but I will anyway. There's 3 items in the contract. Number 1, it was making every county employee, fire and police based a member. Number 2, it was allowing the sheriff to have the members. And then number 3, it was the scholarships. When we sent our contract into our corporate compliance, we need to pull that out of the contract, because there is an AG opinion upon that, that giving away something in a no-cost contract can be misconstrued. So we've pulled that out of the contract, put that to 70 items, pulled those 3 out, and that will be after, if and when you want to do a contract with us, that will be a memorandum of agreement post-contract that will provide that service for all of your county employees, fire on duty, in line, police, sheriff's office, fire departments. They'll become a member of our ambulance service. We'll sponsor the contracts, and we'll give the sheriff members so that he has no out-of-pocket expense to transport prisoners to the hospital. And that's something that we'll do after that. And so when you don't see that in the contract, that's something that we'll agree. And in any case-by-case basis that you guys bring to us as an ambulance transport, we'll handle that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I ain't good about it, but if you want to, go.
Would you have time to get this to the committee before Monday?
As soon as I get it in electronic format, I can shoot it out. I do have to go out of town this weekend for a funeral, but I can shoot it out on an email and let everybody have it. My greatest concern is the May 10th date. That's a lot of stuff that's got to be done between that, or whenever it gets agreed upon, around May 10th. So
right.
We might need to push the contract date back.
All right, look, I hate to even ask this question again, though, but Craig, on the same side, are you clear understanding what the zero subsidy contract's going to look like? The wording change?
Not until I
that's what he's saying.
see exactly what Keith sends to me. I feel reasonably confident, based on the discussions here, that if the language looks like these discussions, then it would comport with what I understand we've agreed to. But
You need to
until
look over it first.
I've gotta look over it.
Right.
I've gotta look over it.
You don't mind working the weekend, do you?
I don't mind. This is very important stuff. I feel
Hey,
like.
you gonna
feel
just
like-
shove this down the 18th, go on then.
Well, I don't think it's that much
I
different.
don't either.
Well, you
I don't
don't,
think
you're
it-
not
I
the
don't
one having
think
to
it
look
is.
at it, and you're not the one also gonna have to answer that committee. That committee needs to have the opportunity, they've been spending a lot of time on this.
But what
And
I'm
they
saying
need
is
to have, they know buts, they need to have that opportunity.
No, well, they did. They came back and
No,
we made
they
the
need to know
changes.
what we've come down finally with, and I think we owe it to them.
I agree with you. Well, I'm
Jared,
saying,
what is it that we've taken out that they wanted?
I don't know, it's like, I wanna see it done there. I want him to be sure with it. If you wanna go on the 18th, that's fine, but I'm not, I think what's another,
Jay, the next
10
one
days.
is 28.
yeah. What's 10 days to know we got everything? We've been working on it 6 months.
Okay, well, I mean, I think.
It's whatever y'all wanna do. That's just that's my take on it.
In terms of the committee, some of them are here right now, you know, so I don't know.
Not any very many from the rural area, the volunteers.
What I can do is when I get this email and send it out to them, they'll have a copy of it, and I'll let them know this is gonna be an up or down vote from you guys. And that we're not making any more change, the committee's not making any more changes, right or wrong, Xing out, deleting, or anything like that. Just saying, this is what they're gonna be voting on, whatever date.
And explain to them about the subsidy.
There is
And I'll add some notes, and I'll
We all
send it
have,
to the
I mean,
union.
we understand that there's gonna be $50,000 worth of stuff that we gonna pick the tab up on. But so that Bob don't come back in 3 months and go, oh, I never thought about that.
I'm in concurrence.
Yeah, the only part I got issue with is the no penalty, but.
There's never been a fine collected, so which
I'm with
difference
you.
does it make?
That's what I agree with there, but I guess my thing is that we could take action today if we knew the exact specifics of what the zero subsidy contract. I just want to be sure we know what that is.
I'm connecting, and I've sent it at 70 points. Nobody else has anything to do on Friday. We can go through 1 through 70. I'm comfortable with that. We can
No, I'm not being here. Our time's up.
I just sent that to you. I can send it out. This has been a workable copy while I've been here.
So did you put in the med control
It is in there, yes, sir.
and the ALS, that's in there?
Twice.
Okay, all right.
I can even put it.
Well, you might wanna put it 3 times, you know.
Brian can keep his truck.
Highlight it. Might want to bold up.
He didn't put it in there. But if he's, that's not a problem.
All right, well,
Did you copy Brian on it?
I did, but I can forward it.
Please do.
Okay.
all right.
Are we done here?
I'd
Move
say
on next.
brace ourselves with a $300,000 subsidy next year.
All right, let's move on, and we'll let Craig review it over the weekend.
Yeah. Are we on or off for April 18th?
I don't think it'll be something that's going to hold us up from the 18th.
Thank
As long as
you,
you're
guys,
willing to
for
do
coming.
it.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Here's why. Ms. Janice needs to put
Add
it
it to the
on
agenda.
the agenda for the 18th or not.
I think it needs to be on the agenda. for
Well,
the
Craig,
18th.
I just want to know if you're going to be able to do it, you know.
We can always
You can have
table it
ready.
if it's not, if you're not ready to do it.
If it's not right, we don't have to act
It's just
on
the
it.
issue of review of the contract and the issue of input from the chief's side is, at this stage, is not going to be helpful.
Right.
Then we'll be ready to go on the 18th.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Monday.
You good?
I'm just listening.
Okay.
We talked enough about ambulances now?
Can we
For
say
me.
that Ms. Janice will?
Please put it on the agenda. I would like to ask if we
And
put it
just so
on.
we're clear, because we want to make sure that we are accurate in our agenda item.
You going to be
Okay?
Do it now.
The agenda items got to be accurate. We will have discussion of and potential action to authorize contract for ambulance services, okay? So it'll be on there. If you want to act, you can. Just want to make sure it's clear.
Well, you're overpaid, because I don't give it 24.
Maybe let's move on.
Okay.
All right. Laura?
That was all I had.
Thank you.
Child payment stuff they have.
I make a motion to approve, Laura. Move on to B.
The first item that I have is authority to accept the 2016 Kenworth fire truck, serial numbers listed for Sherrill Road Volunteer Fire Department, authority to issue the check, and that is $192,700.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
The next item is authority to pay the final invoice, 16-0132 for basic services that's designed through bidding for the circuit court modifications, the amount of $4,260 to JH&H Architects.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Morrison,
Second.
second by Mr. Morrow. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next item is the authority to pay invoice 16-0139 to JH&H Architects for 10% of basic services in the amount of $102,000 and design studies through December the 31st of 15 in the amount of $15,396, and that's a total of $117,396, and that's for the Rankin Courthouse, new Rankin Courthouse facilities.
So
Motion
moved.
approved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? Are they coming, when are they coming? The 28th?
I think so.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
The next item is authority to pay the final pay application to Gilruth Construction Company in the amount of $11,591.65 for the Rankin County Circuit Court modifications.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow,
Second.
second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next item is authority to enter into an animal control receiving contract with Mississippi Animal Rescue League to accept animals that are taken to their shelter by Rankin County. Rankin County agrees to pay $17,500 annually to be billed quarterly for the year 16. Currently, they've been doing on an animal-by-animal basis. They took an average of 3 years. This is just a bookkeeping thing to make it easier for them. I checked it out, and the figure's tied
Okay.
to what we've been paying.
Motion by Mr. Morrow,
Second.
second by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
I have two quick items to add, both of them for the Sheriff's Department. The first one is approval for James Rayburn and Chris Brogdon to attend the APCO conference April the 17th through the 20th in Tupelo, and that's $1,200, and any related travel expenses. This is for the standards that they have to keep up with. The second one is approval for the sheriff to attend he's been chosen to be on the operations committee for HIDA. And this would be for him to attend the committee meeting there in Metairie, May the 5th, and pay any travel-related expenses.
I make a motion we add it to the agenda, both items.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrow to add these items, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 I make a motion we approve both.
And I hate to deal, but since the meeting's started, there's two more things I need to add.
Go ahead.
You know, with these drones that came out and everything, when the FAA is required, you have to be certified to fly a drone.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I have a FAA inspector that's also a reserve deputy. He usually charges $50 an hour to conduct a 50-hour course. He'll do it for us for $25 an hour. I just need y'all to
Okay.
approve me in their contract with him to do the training for a 50-hour course.
Make a motion to add this to the
Wait,
agenda.
hang on, we got one more.
And
do it too.
I hired an officer from Pearl, a K-9 officer. So he's come to the sheriff's office, and I talked with Pearl. I'd like for him to bring his dog with him. So I'd like y'all to approve me to buy his dog from Pearl, sell it to us for $4,500.
Aren't they generous?
It was $12,000 brand new.
Okay.
That's a brand new, get a used dog?
You got a used dog.
That's some mileage on it.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to add these other two
I'll make a
items?
motion to add these to the agenda.
Second, whatever.
Okay, motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Morrow. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I make a motion to approve them all.
Okay, Mr. Morrow made the motion on all of them and seconded all of them by Mr. Morrison.
All in favor?
All discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
We have Rankin County School District.
All I need to get permission there is for Craig and I to send them a letter. They're doing their budgets right now.
Yep.
To make sure this is what y'all wanted to do, that we send them a letter that tells them October 1 we will no longer be responsible for their utilities. and to add it into their
Can we
budget.
not make it June or July when their budget takes effect?
We can do that.
Yeah, I
That's what it needs to be when the budget takes effect. We won't run into
Okay.
what we did
July
last year.
1?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we need to do a motion. You okay with that?
Okay.
The other thing, hopefully, just real quickly, is we are having several requests for our multipurpose facility for people that want to do benefits and fundraisers, and they want to know if we can either give them a discount or not charge them.
We charge them.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
Problem with that is everybody
then on,
comes up
everybody
with-
be doing a benefit.
Everybody
like
comes
the
up with a
bingo.
benefit.
What is the price?
Well, it's $250 for a nonprofit, and it's $500 for anybody else. And then
If they're in state.
if they're in state, right?
If they're in county, we don't have a difference of somebody that's in the county versus
Yeah,
somebody.
did I say,
We do. It's
county, well, no, I think it's all in-state, isn't it? If it's an
Yeah.
out-of-state, we up the price, that's right.
but it's $500 if they're not nonprofit entities, and $250 if they are a nonprofit entity.
They can
These
show a
are not
nonprofit.
nonprofit. These are just people.
But
wanting
we
to
give a
hold
break for people
benefit.
inside the county, don't we? I thought we did.
Yes, we do.
What is that?
Is that
I don't think we did anymore.
two?
I don't know, I'd have to look it up, I don't remember.
I don't even
I didn't think we
remember
did
offhand.
because some were
I think
were
we
getting
changed
somebody
that.
within the
Yes.
county to
Getting an
reserve it
address.
for 'em,
It was
and
like
they were really
that.
they were out.
Okay.
It was like that at one time, we revised the rules.
The last ones I
Stop
remember
the
were $250 and $500.
Right.
To be nonprofit, you have to have the nonprofit certificate.
Yes, you
Right.
do.
Well, our language, Steve, is a little foggy. You can be a nonprofit entity just by filing with the Secretary of State as a nonprofit and clearing that hurdle with the Secretary of State. That's primarily been our evaluation process. We look on the Secretary of State's website and we see if they are listed there as a nonprofit entity. The reality is that not all nonprofits are equal.
Right.
Some go further and get a designation from the Internal
Right.
Revenue Service to be a qualified entity under IRS regs, which allows them to receive
Take money,
donations,
right.
and those donations are exempt.
Yep.
That's a whole different equation there. So it would be helpful if we knew from you guys whether you wanted the nonprofit status to be a qualified entity under 501c3 or just a nonprofit with the Secretary of State.
I would say just with the Secretary of State. We're trying to manage it too tight.
Well, in other words, we will continue to do what
Yeah,
we've been doing.
Yeah. All right. We good?
Good.
Do we have an executive session other than one Derek has?
Yes.
Oh.
But it really shouldn't take very long at
Well, I
all.
was going to say, we just do Derek's without executive session, but anyway. All right.
I'm going to hold mine.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Well, if you're gonna hold it,
I'm waiting.
he's gonna hold it to Monday. I can wait till
Yeah,
Monday.
that's what I thought we would do.
Right.
If he
Monday?
wants to wait till Monday, I can wait till
Pretty
Monday.
fast.
well, all of us aren't going to be here Monday.
I'm
so-
not gonna be. I gotta leave here about 12 Monday.
Oh, we ain't going to be, it's going to be 15 minutes.
Well, I hope so. I'm just saying. I'm giving you a heads up.
All right.
12 o'clock. You'll be looking at my rear end.
Okay. Monday? Okay.
They'll do it
Can
Monday.
we just go ahead and take Derek's, he wants to pay somebody mileage on emergency calls. Can we do that outside of executive session?
You can, if he doesn't, if he doesn't wanna name names and
Yeah.
anything.
Or do you need to be in executive session?
He's got one gentleman he wants us to pay mileage for.
How about we just simply evaluate this from the standpoint that your department head would be authorized to extend mileage reimbursement for emergency costs. You don't have, he gets to decide within his department who is eligible and police that.
Yeah.
That way we don't have to get into executive session.
I'm good with that.
I'm good.
Make a motion, we add that to the agenda.
Do we need to vote on that? Craig? Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to see you.
So
All right.
moved.
Motion by Mr. Morris to
Second.
add it, second by
Second.
Mr. Morrison. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. We gonna vote on it now?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, make a motion that we approve it.
All right, motion by Mr. Morris, second by Mr. Cross. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay.
Good job, Derek. Hey, look, you gonna have to tighten up, man. Bridget stood up there and had all them things by herself.
Yep.
It's your job to get up there and help
Get
her.
up there and
I don't have my pocket in my slack for my knife like I do my car.
Well, you can at least hold the envelopes for her. All right, I got a motion
means you
to
wear the wrong kind
recess
of
till
slacks.
the 18th.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Morrow,
Second.
second by Mr. Cross. All in favor say aye. Ayes have it.
Hey, Brian, come on. What you gonna do with this?
You have a